Welcome to another reaction stream. We're looking ahead to Game Week 35 and talking about double Game Week 34 so far. There are 2 games left. We've got also the Chelsea United game. That should be very interesting. We'll talk about how we're doing so far, our initial plans, and if things stay the same from what I discussed in my Game Week 34 team selection video, I actually might roll the transfer this week, but I'm still open-minded. I've actually got 56 points, but with Weghorst coming on for Fabian Schär, I will have 61, which isn't too bad. And if Reece James misses out completely, then I get 1 point off the bench from Broja as well. So just a disaster for Reece James owners. Congratulations to those who have Marcos Alonso. He's been doing really well. And I'm not too surprised that he got the assist and he got the 10-pointer. But as for Reece James, it's very surprising to see him not even in the squad entirely. Mason Mount, Werner, Havertz, all disappointing really. Jorginho missed the penalty as well, but Chelsea still won the game late on, courtesy of that Alonso assist. Pukki, I brought him in, you know, I like the double Game Week 36 fixtures, I still do. He's got that double, he's got decent fixtures all round, great form, and he was facing a Newcastle side that were going to rotate a lot, and they did indeed, yet Newcastle still won 3-0, so it doesn't really matter there. Robertson with the goal, he's going to get 3 bonus points as well, assisted by Salah. I actually made a late captaincy switch from Salah to Mason Mount, and as long as Mason Mount just gets a clean sheet and, let's say, appearance points, he pretty much matches Salah anyway, so I'm not too surprised or bothered by that. Saka and Robertson being my best players of the week. Everyone else kind of average. At least I got a clean sheet from Arnold, although he did get a yellow card. Jose Sa and Ramsdale, no difference. Both of them with the exact same number of points were free, and in the end, you know, not really the worst case in the world. I was always going to lose points from one of Weghorst or Jose Sa, but I'm going to talk about also my team selection at the moment as things stand. There's going to be more videos discussing it. Also, be sure to join us for the deadline stream on Tuesday for UCL Fantasy. But let's go through these questions. Welcome everything, Zim. 43 points. I think that's pretty decent, and if you have 2 or 3 Chelsea players left, or even some Palace players, for example, then you could still do even better. So, yeah. Luke with 62 points. Gallagher, Alonso and Werner left. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. And Alonso with a huge haul for you. You never know with Gallagher, but I've been quite disappointed with him because in the first half of the season he was looking really good. Not so much in the second half, but Werner Alonso I think could do really well for you. 69 points of Alonso, Mount and Havertz captain left to play. So I'm seeing some good scores here. Yeah, Robbo saved my game week. Same here, mate. Robertson and Saka pretty much. Yo, what's up everyone? I'm early for once. Welcome Galactic Hobbit, and it's good to have you on as always. And yeah, I mean, it's been a bit of a weird game week so far. Divock is the GOAT. Yeah, he loves playing against Everton, doesn't he? Either way, Liverpool are going to win that game, I think, anyway. Yeah. Going to do the wild card. Got Raya, Laporte, Schär, Odegaard, Bruno, Guimaraes, Tony for Ramsdale, Rudiger, James, Ramsey, Coutinho, and Maupay. Fair enough. Yeah, Raya, actually, one thing I want to talk about him is his distribution. And whoever saw that game against Spurs, I mean, every single ball he pinged, you know, whether it's, you know, across the entire pitch or whatever, it just went straight to its target. It was amazing, you know, kicking. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. Laporte, Schär, Odegaard, Bruno. The thing with Bruno, though, getting him in right now, I'm not too sure. He's facing Liverpool and City. Yes, he's been in great form and he could be a good enabler, but I don't know. I'm still not too sure if he's worth getting in right now. I think maybe the boat has sailed. Odegaard as well, I'm not too convinced from an FPL perspective. I think he's crucial in Arsenal having any hope of getting into the top 4, but I'm not sure if he will get those goals and assists you want. I do like Laporte. As for Fabian Schär, though, a bit similar to Bruno. And actually, I would rather have Guimaraes than Fabian Schär. In that case, Laporte is fine, I think, definitely. Welcome, Cylindra. Yeah, 61 points as well. Havertz captain and James to play. Yeah, no, James has been... I basically tweeted out recently that since Game Week 31 when I brought him in, and a lot of people did the same thing, he's got 1 point. And he's also missed out completely today. Hopefully he does something in the second game, but it's just been awful. Welcome, Hoxton. Good to see you here once again. Welcome, Sam, and thank you. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions or comments, let me know. Welcome, 404th Trooper. Bring in Philippe Coutinho. I think it's a good time to bring him in, but I wouldn't be in a rush, to be honest. And... I didn't see the Leicester-Aston Villa game, but from what I heard, it was a bit of a snooze fest. But yeah, Coutinho is still a good purchase, despite, I'd say, poor form from Villa. Rip should have done Robbo instead of Trent. Well, to be fair, though, I mean, people asked me this a few weeks ago, and I only just about went with Robertson just because of recent form, but I don't think it's really a big thing, you know. Next week, Trent could easily outscore Robertson. I don't think it's actually a mistake to go for him instead of Robertson, in my opinion. Is James injured? I'll be honest, I haven't seen the exact reason why he wasn't, but that's what my first suspicion was. So if anyone does have the information, then let me know. But yeah, you would suspect he's injured. For him not to be in the entire squad, he must have a little knock or something. And actually, he's been playing as a right centre-back to build up his fitness again. And, now he's got a lot of the knock, potentially. If Mount starts against United, should I bench him against Everton? That's a good point. I'm seeing why you're saying that. I wouldn't bench him necessarily against Everton. And Mason Mount is one of the more nailed Chelsea attackers. The fact that they're not in the Champions League, I'm more confident in Chelsea playing their best players like Mason Mount. He's not going to play every single game though. I think he will get the odd benching. I'm not sure when that will be exactly. But yeah, I think he will start. Obviously, that's just kind of a, let's say, an initial prediction, and you never know. Things can change easily. 48 points only. Well, the thing with a wildcard is the long-term effects. I don't look at the short-term. For example, when I played my wildcard, I fixed a lot of long-term issues, and now I'm seeing the gains, up until game week 34. But at the time, if I had just triple captain Salah, even with a really woeful team, I think I would have outscored my original team, or at least matched it somewhat. So I think you have to wait for the long term before you can draw conclusions like that. 56 points of Alonso, Rafinha and captain Money Mason Mount to go. Now you still have a lot of room for improvement there. You can go to 70 plus points easily. So hopefully you get that, and that's still a good score, I think, up until now. Get Alonso for James at the last minute. Fair enough, mate. That's fair play. And to be honest, it makes sense. And sometimes you just can't afford these players, and it's a blessing in disguise. But I do think Reece James owners, and I'm not just talking about myself, I'm talking about those who brought him in recently, they've been very unlucky, in my opinion, but there you go. Will James play the next game? I honestly have no idea. If he's injured, then it just depends on late fitness tests, the extent of the injury, but honestly, I have no clue if Reece James will be fit in the next game. It's just more of a hopeful thing right now. Yeah, Robertson on fire. He's been, in my opinion, the best FPL defender since, you'd probably say, Game Week 26, even just before that. He's been in amazing form. Went from 29 to 53 from that Liverpool game. I got excited when Robertson scored for FPL, but then mood changed because as a City supporter, title race is still on. I'll be honest, if I supported City, and if you were there yesterday for the stream, apparently I'm a Liverpool fan, I'm a City fan, which is funny. But yeah, I would not want Liverpool to basically get points. I'd rather, if I was a City fan, I would rather Liverpool blank and I don't get any points and I jinx them, so to speak. But yeah, I see what you mean there. James, yeah, I already answered that. Should I sell Son and distribute for the funds? Team value is the only 100.8 million. Only 100.8 million. Maybe you've played, I'm not sure why so low. I'm guessing maybe you joined later in the season or something. But yeah, look, if it's going to improve your overall squad, then I would recommend it, definitely. And you also have the bench boost to play, so it makes sense. Havertz to Coutinho. I'm actually not too sure. Like, as much as I like Coutinho long term, I would say yes if you don't have a free hit. Otherwise, you can free in 37, bring Coutinho for that game week, but I would rather have Havertz, for all the other game weeks. I know Havertz looked very poor today. Wood to Watkins, yes, I think that's a good transfer. I don't like Wood anyway, although Watkins isn't great himself. 2 points, Cancelo captain, big W. I'm surprised by that as well, but these things can happen. I think those who brought in Sterling, all these players, Laporte, Cancelo, very hard done by. And, Gabriel Jesus, 24 points. De Bruyne with 2 assists. But yeah, sometimes you're going to be unlucky, basically. You put yourself in a position to be lucky, but you didn't get the points this time. But I wouldn't be discouraged in the long term. Cash for Doherty this week? Yes, I think that's a good transfer. And it's a great long-term move, definitely. Yeah, Phil has 2 double game weeks in a row, and they are good fixtures. Also plays Norwich. Yeah, that's a good point about Phil. Yeah, true, but I don't know, like, the thing is with, you're talking about Foden, I'm presuming, yeah, the thing is, his returns are quite inconsistent. Now that he got the benching against Watford, you would suspect he will get more starts and probably not miss too much in the Premier League until the end of the season, but it's very hard to tell. And also, players like Gabriel Jesus, they've been sidelined for so long, and now look at them, and they're linked to moves away as well. And thank you very much, Luke. Best captain for Gameweek 35, great question. I'm going to take a look at Fantasy Football Hub right now, actually. That's what we're going to do, the predicted points. I think De Bruyne, rightfully so, is probably right up there. Son and Kane. I think Kane is up there. Facing Leicester, that's his favourite opponent. Salah away to Newcastle is decent, although I will say Newcastle have been pretty good, especially at home. So maybe not the greatest fixture, but still, I think those are probably the prime suspects, in my opinion. Not too many other players really enter my thoughts for the captaincy, but let me know if you disagree, of course. Tuchel said Reece felt something in his thigh. Yeah, hopefully he's back for the United game, but and thank you, by the way, for the clarification. I wasn't able to see that. And yeah, Peter as well said that James is feeling his hamstring, can't see him playing Wednesday. Oh yeah, if it's his hamstring, then yeah, no, there's not going to be much of a chance, really. That's unfortunate, but James, it's feast or famine with him. You're going to get a lot of points, or you're going to get these 0-pointers, these 1 or 2 pointers, which are very frustrating. Is it worth selling Maddison or Kulusevski to Coutinho? With the amount of rotation for Leicester, I'd probably say Maddison. So despite Kulusevski's blank and Spurs not having a shot on target in 2 weeks, I'd still rather keep Kulusevski. I think Spurs will get some goals in the next few games. I think they will turn things around, but they will still occasionally drop points. Could be against Leicester, but I'm mainly looking at that Liverpool game. They probably will struggle to score in that. There might be 1 or 2 other matches where, just like against Brentford, very lucky to get that draw in the first place. But let me go to the predicted points here. Thank you to everyone for tuning in, by the way. And here we go. So De Bruyne, Son, Kane, Watkins, Salah all make up the top 5. I think that's a fairly decent list. Would I want to captain Watkins though? Probably not, if I'm being completely frank. Maybe Coutinho could enter your thoughts there. Ronaldo's up there. Fernandes, Cancelo, Arnold and Sancho. So that's kind of what Fantasy Football Hub are predicting right now. Quite interesting, but I do agree with some of the top picks there. And I definitely like players like De Bruyne for the captaincy this week. Otherwise, it's kind of the usual. Harry Kane, Son, Salah. I think that's where I'd mainly look at. You never know, a Chelsea play against Everton, but I don't think I'd go there personally. Can we look to Aston Villa players? Let me just get the question up again. Yeah, if we wildcard 35, definitely. I wouldn't triple up personally, but I would go for 1 or 2. I think Cash and Coutinho would be the top of my list. Maybe Watkins as well due to the sheer lack of forwards. But yeah, that's a good point. I have Mount and Havertz, thinking of Reece to Trent. Already have Robertson. Well, to be honest, I think it's a good move. And if James is out for a long time, Hoxton, then definitely. I think Trent is worth getting in. Thank you, Melvin, for the shout out. Much appreciated. Yeah, Robertson in my game week. No sack on the wildcard might have been very wrong. The thing is, though, Saka wasn't on penalties until very recently with Lacazette out of the team. So that's something that's completely surprising. Obviously, we know that he's on penalties now after the Chelsea game, but who would have thought that Arsenal would get penalties in back-to-back games? I can't remember the last time that's happened, if I'm being honest. So, yeah, look, I think Saka was worth keeping on a wild card potentially, but I don't think he was essential. And, a few weeks ago, we were all talking about getting rid of all the Arsenal players. The only one I consider keeping is Saka, but even then, I recognise that he wasn't essential. So I don't think it's necessarily a disaster class from you. I did Cancelo for Robertson on the wildcard and I got punished for it. I'm glad I have Alonso there. Well, there you go. You can't have everyone. That's the kind of the bread and butter of FPL. You said that Rudiger decided to leave Chelsea at the end of the season. Yeah, Tuchel said it in his interview. I saw that part. So yeah, thank you once again to those who pointed out the Reece James information. I'll try to look myself on Twitter as well right now. But yeah, as for Rudiger, it looks like he's going to be leaving and Real Madrid is probably going to be his destination. He's been linked to them for a year or two now, I believe. I'm on 56 with Rafinha, James, Alonso, Havertz captain. Yeah, that's really good, Eddie. Unfortunately, it's not looking too good for James. He might not even play, so it depends who is on your bench to come on there. Salah only getting an assist was very lucky. Everton 100% deserved the pen. Yeah, look, we discussed this yesterday, and I was basically, there was a Liverpool fan, I think, that said something like, if City consider that pen against Everton, that Rodri handball, which even at the time I said that's a blatant handball. I don't like Rodri myself. It's a penalty. But he said that Liverpool will be top of the league. But then I also said, well, Liverpool also got decisions in their favour. Today, quite a few went in their favour. But there you go. Even yesterday, Arsenal got quite a few decisions in their favour, which is quite surprising, but it happens. But there you go. Yeah, I agree. I think Everton definitely deserves something. Especially, I think, early in the game. I know it's only a free kick, but how did Trent get away with that? He literally pushed Gordon just, I think, on the edge of the box and nothing was given and Liverpool allowed to basically go on the counter-attack. So, yeah, look, the refereeing in this country is awful. Stuart Atwell, I discussed him numerous times, especially on Twitter. No surprises there. Yeah, thank you, Ashraf. I'll read out the quote now. The back three is less demanding than the wing-back position. It's a bit of an advantage of him being in the back three because it's less physically demanding. Yeah, that's literally what I was referring to, but now, he's picked up another knock, so he just always gets that. It helps us have him on the pitch for more minutes. Hopefully he comes back somehow against United, but right now it doesn't look too good. Do you think Rudiger starts in 35? I believe so, but I want to be... Look, the thing is, I think he will start, but at the same time, if Tuchel benches him, it's not really going to be, the biggest shock in the world, basically. Made 2 transfers for Game Week 35. Kucho out, Dennis and Doherty out for Davis. Yeah, I think that's a good set of transfers, to be fair. Dennis with an assist against City. He also had a chance himself, but he kind of diddled on it a little bit too much. He scuffed it. He should have done better there, and Zinchenko was able to recover. But yeah, look, Dennis for the bench boost, especially in Game Week 36, is decent. Do you think James starts the second game? I'm going to have to see the full quote, but if it's his hamstring, as someone said earlier, then I'd be very worried. Bench Emerson Real or Ben White? Bench Emerson, that's a good question. I think I'd rather bench Ben White. West Ham will probably rotate. They have no centre-backs available, by the way, against Arsenal after Craig Dawson got the red card against Chelsea. But from an offensive point of view, I would still back West Ham to cause Arsenal some issues, especially, look at, for example, Ronaldo's goal. Obviously, great finish. He's in the position. But look at Gabriel, Tavares, and also Ramsdale. Arsenal are very fragile at the back. They should have conceded more to United as well yesterday. They were very lucky. So I think I would rather go for Emerson, who, to be honest, Spurs have only conceded 1 goal in the last 2 games. They've got a very defensive, approach to these games. So yeah, I think I'd go for Emerson. Welcome, Rigby. Yeah, Reece has been one of the worst transfers I made this season. When I got him in the first half of the season, he actually did pretty well for me for a few game weeks, then got injured, but right now it's been a disaster class, really. I'm going to go back to my team now and show you this time. And by the way, there's always this kind of question for new viewers as well. How do you get these away kits? It's the FPL Away Kits Chrome extension. If you type that on Google, you will find it. It's one of the first results. And if not, I can put a link later on in the stream. But yeah, right now I'm thinking of captaining Salah. It's going to be between him and Heung-min Son. I still think Spurs will bounce back despite having 0 shots on target against Brighton and Brentford. And there you go, Weghorst with another assist, another return anyway. So pretty happy with him. I can't ask for too much more from the forwards right now. Pukki as well will be starting. I've got Broja, Cher and Doherty on the bench. I might roll the transfer this week. And then in 36, I can get Cancelo for Doherty and a pure bench fodder option for Weghorst. But ideally, I would rather get rid of Broja at this moment in time. Saka does have a knock, even before the United game. After the Chelsea match, he felt something. So that's something to keep an eye on. But I think he should be fine. Let's wait and see. But my defence is pretty much my Liverpool fullbacks carrying. Doherty's obviously injured. Otherwise, he would have been a very good asset until the end of the season. Reece James has been awful. I think I'd start Jose Sarr over Ramsdale, but I don't expect a clean sheet for either Arsenal or Wolves there. So my team isn't looking amazing, but at the same time, I've been slowly gaining rank and now up to 27k again. Hopefully I can maintain that. And, if Mount can do something in the second game against United, if James somehow plays, then I have a good chance of maybe breaking into the top 25k or maybe getting very close to top 20k. But let's wait and see. Cash or Laporte for Arnold? I'd probably say Cash for the sheer number of doubles that Aston Villa have, but in terms of clean sheet potential, it's obviously going to be Laporte all day long, so it depends how you want to play it. But because Cash is a bit cheaper as well, and I'd rather have Trent and Robertson, and also have Cancelo, I'd go for Cash. Unlucky for me, 3 players not starting, Cher, James and Foden. Thank God I have Weghorst and Cash on the bench. Decent players to come off the bench there. And obviously they both got returns this week. As for Fabian Cher, yeah, look, I was not too surprised. After I saw Eddie Howe's comments, I think it was on the Thursday or Friday, I was kind of fearing the worst with Newcastle because he said we're probably going to rotate a lot this weekend. And, Fabian Cher was benched alongside quite a few other players for Newcastle like Chris Wood. And there you go. So it's a big shame. But as for Foden, I was also quite expecting that. I said it before the stream and a lot of City fans also expected it. Foden and Morris to be benched, De Bruyne to start, Sterling, Jesus, etc. So there you go. As for Reece James, though, that was a complete shock for me. Do you think Rudiger's a sell now that he's confirmed he's leaving at the end of the season? Yeah, I'd rather have Laporte anyway. I prefer that. It made sense to have Rudiger before Game Week 33 because he has a double there. Should I say in Game Week 34 as well as also Game Week 36. But now I think Laporte is the better option long term. Coutinho or Foden, if you have no free hit, then it'd have to be Coutinho. He's got back-to-back doubles in 36 and 37. Yeah, it has to be Coutinho for me. Should we sell Leicester players? If you have a triple up, it's a bit tricky. I wouldn't sell Kasper Schmeichel, to make that very clear, but I would possibly sell the likes of Maddison and Barnes. I just don't like their minutes. And so long as Leicester are in the Conference League, it's really going to be a big issue. Sold Ward-Prowse for Mount. Wow, that is unlucky, mate. I would have probably done the same thing, and he got 2 goals today. Unlucky, mate. These things can happen. Mason Mount can still pay things off for you, and I still think he'll outscore James Ward-Prowse until the end of the season. But there you go. Crap. No James, Mount and Havertz. No comment. Cancelo and Laporte, no clean sheet. Yeah, I get your frustration, Cyril, but there's still a long way to go. And, I could easily drop. I'm in a decent position right now. I could easily drop, but the same thing, I could also easily go back up. And the same goes for you. There's still plenty of game weeks left. I know time is running out, but I don't think, everything's lost now. I have Harvey Barnes. Is he now a bad pick? I don't think he's necessarily a bad pick. It's just the lack of minutes is the big problem, and therefore I would sell him possibly, to Coutinho, with the amount of doubles he has and the good fixtures. FPL Gameweek, yeah, I agree. Even though I've done decent, I've got a small green arrow, I agree. Excited for the UCL Fantasy stream. See you on Tuesday. Thank you, Sudindra. I look forward to seeing you there. Hi, Dylan. Thoughts on Kane to Pukki and Martinelli to De Bruyne? Honestly, Ben, I really like it. I still think Kane is going to start scoring again and Spurs will start turning the heater on again, but I do think they're missing Doherty. Not to the extent that they're not going to win another football match again and that Kane won't be a great player and FPL asset, but I think those those transfers look really good and I'd actually do it, yeah. I think next week I'm doing Son to City mid, probably Mahrez or Foden. Yeah, the thing is, I wouldn't go Mahrez personally. I've said this all along. As much as I like him, he's going to be in and out of the team. Foden, I think, is the one to go for. He's the one that I expect to start more games than Mahrez. If I'm wrong, then I apologise, but that's just the way I see it. Who gets bonus for Liverpool? Well, Robertson definitely gets 3 bonus points. I think... I'm not too sure about the others, actually. I need to double check that. So bear with me for a second. But I'm 100% sure that, Robertson's going to get some bonus points. I'm going to check that right now, by the way, for you. If you haven't already, by the way, you know what to do. Smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. Thank you to everyone who's already done so. It's much appreciated. And all the channel members and the Patreons. It's much appreciated, as always. So let me check this for you. For the bonus points. Actually, what we could do, I can show you on screen. So we'll refresh this page where I was looking at the fixtures. And let's see. So here we go. Robertson 3 bonus points, Matip 2 and Van Dijk 1. So no surprises there. If Arnold didn't get the yellow, he would have been on for a bonus point or 2. So yeah, a little bit of a shame, I guess, but he deserved the yellow, so you can't really complain there. So yeah, that is the answer to your question. And that's how the bonus points are looking like. In terms of the other games, Chelsea, West Ham. Marcus Alonso getting 2 bonus points. Fabianski getting 3. He was man of the match. And Thiago Silva and Chalaba both sharing 1. Alonso also got a yellow card, but still a really big return for him. As for Burnley, I think Vidra was amongst the bonus points. Yeah, Pope 3, Vidra 2, Tarkovsky 1. Can't really complain too much about that. I don't know about this game, I didn't see, but yeah, Ward-Prowse with 3, no surprises there. Trossard with 2, and Welbeck with 1. Trossard again with a return. It's a bit surprising, 3 returns in the last 4 game weeks, but fair play, These things can happen. But yeah, let's go back to the team and go back to your questions. Let's see, what else do we have? My game week has been rescued by Alonso and Robertson. Yeah, it's kind of a familiar theme here. And yeah, those of you who have Alonso, fair play, it's a really good purchase. Take out a Chelsea mid next week for either Foden or Coutinho. If you have 2 Chelsea midfielders, then possibly. But I still think Chelsea midfielders offer great value, especially in Game Week 36, where their double is arguably the best of any top team. I'm thinking of just ditching Chelsea defenders and transfer James out for Robertson. No, honestly, I'd recommend it. I think it's worth it. Wildcard in the bin, mate. Feeling devastated. There's a long way to go. The wildcard is about the long-term effect. So if you have Aston Villa players like Cash and Coutinho, it's about what they do in 36, 37, and also in the preceding game week. So it's not all lost. Who would you pick out of Watkins, Ramsey, Coutinho, and Cash? Coutinho and Cash. If I had to pick 2, Seth. Then my third one, I'd probably go for Watkins. Yeah. The refereeing this weekend has been horrendous. But we can say this about most weekends. That's the thing. Whether it's for Liverpool or for Arsenal. I think in the Arsenal United game, for example, even Bruno should have been sent off. Cedric, that's a clear handball. When I first saw it, I was like, nah, okay, that's just a stupid call. It's not a penalty. But when I saw the replay, come on. It's just a stupid decision, basically. I've done a -8 to get James and Mount. What a waste of time. Yeah, look, the Reece James one, it's probably not going to pay off. But Mason Mount could still deliver. Gordon was massive. Yeah, no, he had a good game and he was causing Liverpool problems. Could have won a penalty. Definitely should have won a free kick. Obviously, I'm not saying they would have scored from the free kick. But yeah, he had a decent game. When I thought Real Madrid was done with us, comes Rudiger's news. Yeah, Chelsea fans must hate Real Madrid there. That's no pen, he is a diver. I'm guessing you're talking about Gordon. Yeah, fair enough. Look, I don't think it's necessarily a blatant pen. But in terms of the foul on the edge of the area on Trent. And I'm not saying that's a major decision, for example, but there were a few incidents like Mane poking someone's eye, stuff like that. Jota elbowing. That's just kind of the usual nowadays, let's say. It's so ironic that we were discussing the referee decisions and the Arsenal United game happened. Yeah, but even then, even Liverpool-Everton game, you could say there's a lot of examples throughout the whole season, and that Arsenal United game was awful as well. I saw things about, I think Nketiah was offside and that impeded De Gea's vision. I'm not entirely sure if that's, maybe I'm being biased, so, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not too sure if that was a major error, but Cedric penalty, definitely, that's a penalty. I don't know why he's doing that. Bruno should have been sent off, and he's been getting away with a few of those kind of red card challenges recently. Even against Arsenal a few years ago, I think he had high starts on Xhaka. I think he did a challenge from behind and he got away with it as well. So I don't know. But in terms of, Arsenal had a few decisions in their favour yesterday for sure. And then at the same time, Bruno should have been sent off. I've never bought and never will buy Reece James. Yeah, fair enough. What can we say? Weghorst, Kulusevski and Ramsdale worth keeping? Yes, I think so, especially Kulusevski. As for Weghorst, how many forwards are doing well? I still prefer the likes of Watkins, maybe Dennis, definitely Pukki, Harry Kane, Ivan Toney. But, at least Weghorst is doing something in recent games, and Burnley are looking good. They're looking like they could stay up, actually. Could you describe your Gameweek 36 team if you're bench boosting? I discussed this in recent streams and stuff, so if I was bench boosting, then what I would possibly do is go for goalkeepers like Schmeichel and Foster. Keep it simple. I still go for double Liverpool defence with Robertson and Trent. And I think I'd go for Cancelo, especially now that it's looking likely that City are going to get a double there. If you don't have a great budget, what you could do is go for Laporte instead of Cancelo. It saves you a bit of money there, but go for one of them. I'd go for Matty Cash as well. And then as a fifth defender, that's where it gets a bit tricky. Maybe Emerson Royal. That's where you could go. As for the midfield, I would still go for Heung-min Son. I'd go for Salah. Maybe go for a Chelsea midfielder or maybe Coutinho. So go for a structure like that, and I'd go for Saka. So I'd go big in midfield. Then up front, I'd go a bit smaller. So I'd go for Pukki, then maybe Dennis, and maybe Watkins. So that's the kind of structure and team I'd have. Let me know, by the way, if you like that sort of team. But I'd go for something like that for sure. If you can't afford one of these players, then, like I said, you can do Cancelo to Laporte or make a few downgrades throughout. Bruno-Nuno combo were hilarious to watch. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, definitely. And Nuno Tavares is such a weird player. Let me put it that way. Let's see. How far behind am I in the chat? Okay, yeah. I'll try to skim through these and, well, when I say skim, I'm go through them quite quickly anyway. Why are we sleeping on Matip? The thing is, why would I get rid of Robertson and Trent, for example? I'm just speaking from a personal point of view. I've said before, I think Matip will start in the league games and therefore he's a good option, but I would rather have Trent and Robertson. Their attacking potential is so good. And if it wasn't for the yellow card, Trent is amongst the bonus points again. And that's the thing. I don't want to sell Saka. Neither did I, even when Arsenal lost 3 games in a row and didn't seem to, able to score a single goal. Saka missed pretty much an open goal against Southampton. But yeah, there you go. Ben, like I said before, I like those transfers. Weghorst or Broja to sell? I'd rather sell Broja. And I'd keep Weghorst out of the two. Any timeline? No, Singh. I'm not sure when the City double will be announced. I guess it should be announced before the Gameweek 35 deadline, but I can't tell you that for sure. But it's looking very likely that it's going to fall under Gameweek 36. 70% chance, according to Ben Crellin. I'm done with James and his binary points. Yeah, I think we all are. When you don't have him, he scores a monster haul. 18 points against Burnley, 21 or whatever against Newcastle, whatever it was, those months back. When you bring him in, 0, 1, 2 points. Yeah, it's just a complete disaster. Yeah, ideal Maddison replacements, the same as I said before. Saka, Coutinho. I'd also say still Mason Mount or Havertz. I still think they're good options. Kulusevski. I think it's the kind of same old. Who is better, Cash or Laporte? Well, really, look, I prefer Laporte, but if you have no free hit, it's just a better option to go for Cash for the sheer number of doubles he has. But Laporte's going to keep more clean sheets. Would you go Maddison to Ramsey or Coutinho? I'd go for Coutinho. Coutinho for Kulusevski. Yeah, I think that's a good transfer, but I still like Kulusevski. I told everyone Alonso was the better pick over James. Well, the thing is, though, for example, I brought in James back in Gameweek 31, and Alonso at that time wasn't really getting into the team. Things change very quickly. But, of course, look, heading into this game week, I could see why Alonso was the better pick. He's shown better form as well. Reece James has been playing as a right centre-back after all, but I'm not sure no one's listed. I think that's a bit of a hyperbole, to be honest. But yeah, a lot of people did go for him, and a lot of people in this chat as well have said that they went for him as well. Which team is more likely to rotate between City and Liverpool? I think that's a good question, actually. I'm not sure. City haven't rotated as much, and Liverpool tend to play their strongest team. But let's say, for example, they've got a game that they kind of know they're going to win, and they're not really going to drop points as a result. They're going to rotate. They did it in the Champions League against Benfica, but yeah, I don't think they're going to rotate too often. There's so much at stake. If any of these teams drop a single point, or should I say 2 points, they're in big trouble. They're not going to win the league potentially. What should I do with Telles? Sell. It makes sense to keep him for the doubles, in 33 and 34, but now it's time to sell. Kulusevski to Foden captain if City double gets confirmed. Yeah, look, definitely. I think it's worth it. And the thing with Foden is that his returns have been very inconsistent, but I think he is a good transfer. Yeah, force on Kulusevski out. I don't think you necessarily need him right now. But I still like him. That's basically it. So if you're getting rid of him for Foden, it's a good transfer. Who's the best James replacement if you have Cancelo, Trent and Robbo? You could go very big at the back with Laporte, but Pat, I think Cash would be a really good transfer for you. Okay, same way. I think you found, it's very impressive, you found like 4 different ways of asking why we're not speaking about Matip, but like we already said before, he's a good option, but would you go for him over Robertson or Trent if you had the money? Probably not, but it's up to you, mate. If you want him, go for him. The way I'd see it actually is, you'd rather people don't speak about him, you have him, you enjoy his points, and then, you enjoy it, you get more rank rise, but yeah, you can't have everyone, you can't have triple Liverpool defence and Salah and Jota and whoever you want. It's very difficult to fit everyone in. Yeah, Matip is so good, yeah. The thing is, obviously, with Diaz and Jota, it's a bit different, so I was kind of fearing a similar situation to that, where Jota sometimes plays in the league, but then Diaz can also come in. But in the Premier League right now, it looks like Matip's playing every single game. In the Champions League and the FA Cup, it's Konate. So, yeah, they found that formula. Liverpool just are grinding out results as well. What would you do with the Spurs boys? I'd still keep them. Maybe sell one, but I'd still keep, at least one attacker. I don't think they're suddenly finished. Spurs will still get results and still score goals. Welcome, Heels. What do you think about keeping triple Tottenham offensive trident? I wouldn't keep it triple Spurs offensive, and as we've discussed, 0 shots on target in 2 weeks. So yeah, I think you would probably want to trim it down to 2 at least. Origi, yeah, Origi scoring against Everton. What a surprise! Should I pick Cancelo, Sterling, Diaz, KDB for long term? If I had to pick, it'd be Diaz and KDB, or I'd just go for Laporte instead of Diaz. I wouldn't go for Sterling long term. I liked him for the Watford game, and I still back my decision to say, on a free hit, I would go for Sterling, but yeah, long term, not for me. I think I'm going to captain Son. Yeah, that makes sense. I think Son and Kane could do really well against Leicester, and bear in mind, Leicester could rotate a lot against Spurs. They've got a crucial Europa Conference League game against Roma, I believe it is, so yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they rotated. Yeah, Cedric Penn, Bruno Red, Nketiah offside. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, those first 2 decisions I definitely agree with, or should I say disagree with. I'm not sure about the Nketiah offside because then Lindelof also impedes the vision, but definitely the Bruno Red and Cedric Penn. There's no doubts about that. And worst referee game of the season contender? Honestly, I think I've seen worse. Stuart Atwell in Arsenal City was, in my opinion, even worse. Kulusevski for Coutinho, Broja to Watkins. Yeah, if I had to pick, it'd be Broja to Watkins. As much as I prefer Coutinho over Watkins, I think Broja is he's been awful for a long time. Wolves vs City in 36 confirmed? No, it's not, but it's 70% chance according to Ben Krellin, so it's most likely going to go there. Yeah, 67 points for this week so far. Yeah, that's looking really good. And if you have, 2 or 3 Chelsea players, you've got a great chance of getting 80 plus points. Chris Wood to who? Has to be cheap. Well, I don't know what your money is. I'm guessing you can't afford Watkins. So in that case, I'd say Pukki. I'd still go for Pukki there, despite his blank. I bought in Ronaldo last week and captained him. Got me back to near the top 10k. Fair play. And decisions like that could easily transform your season. And Ronaldo, he missed that game against Liverpool, but he scored against Arsenal and against Norwich, a hat-trick, of course. So, Ronaldo's always going to score goals, basically. Best replacement for Broja, under 5.5 million forward that plays. You're not going to get too many options there, mate. Maybe João Pedro, but That's the thing. I'd rather go up to Pukki, to Dennis, potentially to Watkins. There's not many options under 5.5 million, unless I'm missing somebody, which I could be, to be fair. Is Jota or Mahrez a good option long term? Honestly, I think both of them are going to be heavily impacted by rotation. If I had to pick one, it would still be Jota. Better week to free hit, 37 easily, Gabriel, because in 36, if you check FPL.team, you probably have a lot of players that are doubling already, so you're not going to gain too much, on paper at least, than you would in 37, so I think Gameweek 37, definitely. What happened to James? I think he felt something, I think either in his thigh or in his hamstring. I'm going to double check that now, actually, but it's very frustrating, you know, so thank you for that, for reminding me, because I wanted to check the quotes myself, but yeah, let's see. Is there any news here? Where are you? Come on, can I have a little update, please? Jesus Christ. Yeah, okay, no, I'm gonna need to think of these. Alright, gonna just try find some pages that hopefully report on the news, but yeah, bear with me for a second. Yeah, no, I don't think there's anything. I can't find anything myself, but obviously Tuchel has said it himself. So yeah, when I find the quote, I'll let you know, but right now it's a bit tricky. Leicester defence better than we thought. The thing is, this is their first clean sheet, really. You know, they've always, even when they are, you know, set to keep a clean sheet, they concede in the last minute. I just don't trust their defence. There's going to be a lot of rotation. Basically, they're facing Spurs next, so I wouldn't bring them in right now. But ahead of Gameweek 36, definitely it's worth it, especially if you don't have the free hit. Start one: Dennis, Pukki, and Nketiah. Good question. I think I'd go for Pukki. Yes, I think I would. Nketiah, no, not against West Ham, although I could be wrong about that. Dennis isn't the worst option either, I guess. Is Liverpool going to blank in 37? Probably not. As Ben Crellin said, there's a 99% chance that Liverpool will still play in Gameweek 37 against Southampton. It's just going to be rescheduled. What's your thoughts on double-seated defence for the rest of the season? No problems with it. I know they just conceded to Watford, but it's obviously, look, for me, they're the best defensive team in the league, and you know there's no problems doubling up on them. I have Kane and Kulusevski. What's your thoughts about selling one of them? I don't think you need both of them. At the same time, I still think they're going to turn things around slightly. I think selling one of them is fine. I don't know which one exactly. It depends on which players you'd want to bring in, I mean. So let me know who you're thinking of bringing in up front and also in the midfield. But definitely, in terms of the forwards, there's less to choose from. But at the same time, is Kane worth over 12 million? Well, based on the last two games, definitely not. Is Eddie Nketiah nailed? I think he will start the next game as well, but don't be surprised if Lacazette in, let's say, 2 or 3 game weeks' time gets a game. For example, in Gameweek 36, Arsenal have a double. Will Nketiah start both? Maybe not. So I wouldn't completely rule out Lacazette out of the equation. Is Doherty to Ashley Young a good option? I wouldn't go to Ashley Young. I'd just go for Matty Cash. It's Brandon. I wouldn't go for Ashley Young. Regret starting Gaeta versus Leeds over Schmeichel. Yeah, but to be honest, it makes sense on paper. And Crystal Palace over the season have been much better than Leicester. If James doesn't play next week, do we keep or go to who? Honestly, I'm still, tempted to sell him anyway. He's been awful for me. Who do you go to? You go to a City defender. Obviously, the Liverpool fullbacks, those are self-explanatory. I think Cash is the kind of outside pick, you could say, who's got plenty of doubles. What do you plan to do with Doherty? I'm not really too fussed about price rises and team value. I think I'd want to get Joao Cancelo or Laporte in. That is my plan. So let me go to FPL.team and show you. So here we go. In Gameweek 35, I could roll the transfer. That was my original plan. Let me just change the captaincy, by the way. I'm not captaining Mount, I think, against Everton. But yeah, in Gameweek 36, then things would change. Okay, for some reason, it hasn't done my transfers. Let me see if I can load my draft. So bear with me for a second. Unfortunately, I don't think it's saved. Let's see. Yeah, no, it hasn't. So let me just show you. In Gameweek 36, what I would look to do is possibly downgrade Weghorst to just a pure bench fodder option. It doesn't really matter. So Dobbin, whatever. He's just going to sell my bench. And then Doherty can become Cancelo. But my squad depth does decrease as a result. So that is not ideal for sure. But I could do something like this, and Broja would be my first sub. But as you can see, a pretty weak bench. Very, very weak, actually. So maybe the best thing to do in my case is instead of Cancelo, go for Laporte. and then that will give me enough funds maybe to just at least improve my striker a little bit more. But then who do I go to? Maybe Nketiah could be my signing, and he could possibly start as well. So let's go for Laporte in for share, and then maybe Nketiah could come in for one of these players, but then they all have doubles, so maybe I don't need to make that transfer basically, but you just never know. And Reece James for me, you know, I'm losing patience with him, definitely. You know, 1 point since Game Week 31 is appalling, so unless he produces against United, I'm very tempted to sell at 1 point as well. So yeah, I think Cancelo or Laporte would be my kind of ideal scenario, my replacement for Doherty. But at the same time, I could consider Matty Cash. Start Schmeichel or Foster? Good question. I think I'd still go for Foster, although Burnley have been looking really good. Chilwell was pictured training this week, but I was led to believe he was out for the season. Do you know anything about this? Honestly, I know as much as you do. So I heard about that in previous streams. We were talking about it. And yes, Chilwell has been pictured in training. Now, I'm not sure exactly when he's going to come back. You know, I still think they're not going to rush him. And Alonso's been in good form anyway. So I don't think his position is under jeopardy, at least for Game Week 35 and possibly 36 as well. But these things can escalate very quickly. Chilwell could be back very soon, you know, before I even anticipate myself. But yeah, you know, you're Alonso owner anyway, so I would enjoy the points right now. And I think he will start in Game Week 35 as well, and possibly 36, both games as well. But let's wait and see. What to do with Tottenham players? I think if you have a triple up, you definitely want to trim it down to 2 or 1. And I even said this back then, you know, when Spurs scored 4 against Villa. Right now, triple Spurs, this is what I said at the time, triple Spurs attack looks really good right now, but in the long term, 2 is probably the sweet spot. And maybe I'm wrong about that, actually. It could be 1. 1 is enough and you don't need 2 or 3. But things change so quickly. Honest opinion, is Jesus a good option if you want to play 1 forward? If he was nailed, then I would say yes, but the problem is I don't think he is. It's as simple as that, so I don't think so. If you want to go 1 forward like Harry Kane or Pukki or Tony, then I would agree, but because Jesus doesn't start every single game, then I'd say no. But of course, when he does start, he can go really big, and I never expected 24 points against Watford. I see a lot of United supporters backing Ranić. United team has been exposed, but I think a good manager would get this team to the top 4. Honestly, I see what you mean, and I do agree. Like, for example, a really good manager, maybe Conte, for example, would get United into the top 4 even this season, but I think the players are the main ones to blame. Obviously, the ultimate problem is the board, and I've said this before when we were discussing with United fans, but I think the players, you know, you have to look at them. You know, they failed under multiple managers, Louis van Gaal. Not all of them, obviously, it's kind of a different crop of players, but some of the players that were, you know, under van Gaal are still there. Obviously, Mourinho. You're looking at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and now Ralf Rangnick. And he is a bit naive tactically, maybe. And sometimes he makes some questionable decisions. But for example, people blamed him for the penalty fiasco yesterday. Well, he explained it himself. You know, Ronaldo told him he wasn't in a state to take the penalty. And Bruno's the captain. They probably discussed it before the game. If you have a penalty, Bruno's going to take. And that's it. Bruno had a really good penalty record before this season. You have to remember that. You know, you don't suddenly lose your penalty abilities overnight. So things happen, you know. Every player misses penalties. Ronaldo, Messi, anyone, Saka, whoever. Everyone misses penalties. That's pretty much the bottom line. But in terms of, the problems or United getting top 4 or not, Ranić is partially to blame, but then he inherited this mess. Has he really signed any players? No, he hasn't. So it's really hard to judge a manager when they haven't made a single signing, in my opinion. Who do you think will win the FA Cup? Liverpool for me. I think they're a far better team than Chelsea. Look, you can't discount Chelsea, but even their recent record against, not even against Liverpool, their recent record in Wembley is very poor. So, yeah, I would be very surprised if Chelsea win the game, but you just never know. I'd go for Liverpool. Appalling penalty by Jorginho, give them to Mount. Yeah, but imagine if Mount took him and then he missed. But yeah. Oh no, where are all the bots saying Liverpool never get favoured? Stevie Wonder mode activate. I actually mentioned it earlier, Antonio. That's exactly what I mean. And today, a few decisions as well went in their favour, but there you go. Apparently, you can't say, you can't speak your mind. How about Rodrigo Moreno for Broja? I don't personally see it. I already mentioned the strikers I would rather go for, so maybe not Dennis at the top of the list, but Kane, Tony, Pukki, Dennis would be up there. Watkins, I'd consider these strikers first before Rodrigo, and also their double in 36 isn't great. Should I be concerned about the Saka injury? It's just a knock. Now, he could maybe be out for 1 game week, but it's not something I'd expect to be long term. The key thing about Rafa Fernandez is that all his pens scored were during lockdown. No fans, no pressure. You could be onto something there, but no, I still think he's a good penalty taker, but this week has just not been it for those that hop and do that little dumb skip or whatever. So yeah. Do you keep Ramsdale and Sarr in the team for the remainder of the season? Honestly, mate, look, if I had a spare free transfer, no. I'd rather get Schmeichel, and I've said this before, but is it worth, for example, me taking a -4 hit? If I want to get Cancelo, for example, and I need to make another transfer to fund that move, do I then take a -4 to do Ramsdale or Sarr to Schmeichel? It's just not worth it, in my opinion. So if I get the opportunity and it presents itself to just make a normal transfer, no costs, no hits, then yes, I would do it. But it's just really difficult for me to do that. Yeah, I agree, Vinu. I've talked about this Stuart Atwell guy before, and I think around 10 years ago, he was basically banned by the FA or something like that for incompetent refereeing, and I think he even got demoted to another league. I can't remember exactly. I don't know all the details. They're hazy, but I'm not surprised after seeing what he did in New Year's Day against City. I'm not shocked at all. And today he was awful again. And he struggles a lot to control these games. They put him in a game where Liverpool versus Everton, emotions are going to be high. Everton are trying to stay in the league. Liverpool are going for the quadruple. Yeah, it's just the kind of worst referee you could have in that case. And there's a lot of bad referees. I agree, players are to blame at United. A tactical manager would still get top 4, at least better performances, better tactical decisions. The thing is, though, whilst I agree with you, and, a good manager could get them into 4th, I don't think Ranić is a terrible, clueless guy. He knows about football. He's inspired, or at least he's paved the way for those like Klopp, Tuchel, etc. So, I don't know. I honestly think it's the players. They've downed tools and their motivation isn't there. It's quite simple. And I think it's a toxic environment there. I'm not even too surprised if there's, infighting or whatever. Obviously, we're only speculating. We're only giving our opinions. But I think the problems at United run deep, in my opinion. 74 -8 currently with 4 to play. Yeah, and Captain Ronaldo, fair play. And against Chelsea, to be honest, even if United lose, I could see Ronaldo getting a goal there. Back 5 against Liverpool with Dalot and Wan-Bissaka. Yeah, and then switching them basically. And Wan-Bissaka's the left wing back. Yeah, look, decisions like that I agree with. But then, is Telles even good? No. And you saw in the game against Arsenal, he was heavily targeted. And United just have a lack of ideas, but also a lack of quality in certain positions. I don't think any of their centre-backs, even Varane right now, they all just don't have any quality. That's the way I see it. So, yeah. Really, how many world-class players do United have? In my opinion, maximum 2. I'd probably say 1, and that's Ronaldo. They're just awful. So happy to see Origi scoring again. I mean, just play him against Everton. That's pretty much the way to go. But yeah, Origi's scored some big goals for Liverpool. He scored in a Champions League final, for Christ's sake. And to be honest, I like that. It was against Spurs, so well done, Origi. I thought he was going to hit the Corey when he ran to give him the yellow. Yeah, no, Stuart was a mug, honestly. Get Alisson in goal and triple Liverpool. They have so much drip. The coolest easy quadruple for them incoming. Oh my god, that jinxing is top draw. Let's just let fate and let's let the games decide. I think he's a great coach, just not a great man manager. Yeah, and also he might have been even better 10 years ago or back in the day. I'm not saying he's amazing now. He definitely isn't. But, at one point he was unbeaten at United. A lot of draws, but still hard to beat. I think United are just terrible. That's literally it. Honestly speaking, United's defence look the most leaky at the moment. Should I get Eriksen in for the next week? Look, as much as I like 1 week punts from time to time, I still wouldn't get Eriksen because it blocks the way for the likes of Saka, Kulusevski, Son, Salah, even Jota, Foden, De Bruyne, all these midfielders, Mason Mount, Havertz. There's so much to choose from. I don't think it's worth going for Eriksen. And look, he could go big, he could get a return or 2 against United, but I just don't think it's worth it. United's pressing was lacklustre against Arsenal. The players don't work hard enough. Exactly. It was so easy for Arsenal sometimes to just make simple passes. Even El Neni was finding gaps in between 2 or 3 players, and United's pressing is just lethargic. The only player that actually recovered the ball quite a lot of times for them, other than maybe their defensive midfielders, is Ronaldo. He was sometimes, dropping back to his own box and winning the ball. He was their best player. Look, he created 2 big chances, and normally I say, yeah, Ronaldo's just, in the box, he finishes the chances, he doesn't offer too much else to the team. But against Arsenal, he had a complete performance, and he probably should have got more points there. Nketiah, well, he was unlucky not to get the goal, but obviously he was offside against United. He's a decent option around his price, but don't expect consistency from him. He's just a decent enabler, really, who's got a double in 36, but I don't know if he's going to start both in that time period. Hey, I'm 100 points off the top of my league, have a wildcard, bench boost and a free hit. Think I can catch them? Look, you still can. I'm not just saying that to boost your confidence or whatever. I genuinely think you can. It's going to be difficult, but it's definitely possible. You've got all those chips intact. You can wildcard in 35, bench boost 36, and free hit in 37, Cohen, or even in 38. So definitely you can catch up. Don't know how to feel today. Havertz captain, Werner and Breuer blocking, Fofana 8 points. Oof. Yeah, but at least Robertson and Alonso got you points. There you go. You know, FPL is not that simple, and football, you're going to get some things go for you, and sometimes you're going to feel like everything's against you. Dylan, how comes Jurgen always stands next to the fourth official? It's almost like he's trying to influence the game. I mean, he's done it before at Dortmund. I remember there's that meme, that gif where he's just constantly... yeah, exactly, Sing. He's very good at jinxing, trust me. But yeah, Klopp does remind me a bit of Ferguson. Like, I'm not sure if he's as intimidating or whatever, but he definitely tries to put pressure, of course. Arteta did it, yesterday. I'm not going to, turn into Stevie Wonder when it comes to Arsenal and then just constantly blame Liverpool. But, Arteta did it yesterday when I think it was the decision for the penalty. So after they disallowed Nketiah's goal, he was putting pressure on Craig Pawson. But yeah, Klopp does it so regularly. Nketiah or Dennis, Dylan? If I had to pick, I'd probably go for Dennis, but Nketiah is still decent, Hassan. I hope Reece James doesn't play against United because I have Saka on the bench. Oof. Yeah, I see what you mean, but I want Reece James to play because I could see a haul for him if he does start. And then you have De Gea, Varane, Ronaldo, Bruno, Pogba. I don't think they're all world-class personally. Bruno, yes, look, he's been really good in recent years, but this season he's been awful, and I don't think he's world-class this season. Varane, he's been a really good centre-back in recent years, but I don't know, let's say in the last 3 years, I'd say he hasn't been that good. So yeah, look, personally, De Gea this season, he's been fantastic. Ronaldo's undoubtedly world-class. Anyone who questions it, maybe myself, is foolish, but no. Trust me, I just don't agree that all of them are world-class. Pogba turns up when he wants. He plays well for France, but I honestly just don't agree. In terms of wildcard side, you're going to see it very soon. I'll probably make a video tomorrow or in the next few days where I'll talk about it. I want to think about it, give it some thought, play around with different ideas and then make a definitive wildcard draft. Why do you choose James over Alonso? I mean... Look, it's very easy to say this right now. In Gameweek 31, Alonso wasn't really in the team. I think he came on maybe once off the bench. He got an assist or something. But Reece James was looking like the better option. Now, obviously, heading into Gameweek 33 or 4, Alonso was looking the better choice of the two. But I still backed Reece James. But then, he's injured. I mean, how can you anticipate an injury like that? Yes, Reece James is more injury prone, and we discussed this. But I think that's very, very reactionary. And I know this is a reaction stream, but... yeah, it's not that simple. And Reece James does have more points over the season, if I'm not mistaken. Watkins or Dennis? Honestly, maybe Watkins for the double, back-to-back doubles. If you don't have a free hit, definitely go for Watkins. Losing to Arsenal is one of the most embarrassing things that can happen to a football team. Honestly, Goldhead, that does seem very salty, if I'm being completely honest with you, but, fair enough. Form is temporary, class is permanent. Is that Ashley Young you're talking about? It's Brandon. But yeah, I think Cash is the one to go for from Aston Villa. That's smart by Klopp. Else's players get targeted. Mane has avoided red a couple of times with his tricks. Yeah, I see what you mean. Look, if I was a Liverpool fan, I'd love Klopp for that, and stuff like that. But Sadio Mane definitely gets away with it a lot of times. Against Arsenal, I hate going back to Arsenal, but there's 2 times at least where he should have got a red card. Not this season, by the way. One maybe this season, one in previous years. Chelsea, when he elbowed Aspilicueta, I think it was. That's another example. But there you go. Every team gets decisions in their favour. But yeah, Mane is very lucky sometimes. I'm 50 points off the top of my private league. Any differentials I should consider? Okay, that's a good question. So in terms of differentials, you could possibly consider Nketiah. Just throwing out there. I'm not saying he's going to get you into the top 10k or whatever, or win your league. I think a good way of... So you've got double C defense already. Zaha could be a decent midfielder to go for. You've already got KDB. Maybe captaining KDB, Vinu, for example, in Gameweek 35. So even from those players you already have, captaining KDB could be one way to go. Which players would I consider? That's a great question. It's hard to even know who's a differential nowadays. So let's go back to the drawing board. I'm going to go back to the FPL website and check this out. So bear with me for a second. I'm going to check the ownership figures and then I'll give you a better answer in terms of players to buy. So let's go to forwards, sort this out by team selected by. So differentials. Watkins at under 10% could be one to go for if you really want to go punty with Jamie Vardy coming back against Aston Villa. But that's really risky. I'll be honest with you. That could be make or break, really. So I'm not too sure about that one. Forwards is really hard, though. You know, most of them are low-owned for a reason because they're terrible. So we're going to look at the midfielders more than anything else. So differential midfielders. Let's see. Foden could be one, 6.1%. You could double up on City attack, but then if you've already got double City defense and you've got De Bruyne, it's not worth it. So scrap that one. Yeah, I think you already have a good team. I don't think you necessarily need to go with differential players. The main thing you need to do and focus on is maybe going for a differential captaincy and also the combination of players. So, for example, you've got Laporte and Cancelo. Not many people have that duo. You know, I'd love to have it myself. I just can't do it. But yeah, I think those sorts of players, I think there was one I missed out just now, actually, that could be good for you. So bear with me for a second. Let's see. Yeah, Zaha already mentioned, but maybe you're not going to be too keen on that one, which is fair enough. I think defenders, maybe Emerson Real could be one. I'm not sure what his ownership is. Let me check it for you. So his ownership is very low, actually. I think it's under 5%. What's his ownership? Where are you? Let me just search his name up. 1.5% ownership. Yeah, Emerson Real. You know, he could be good. Great fixtures before 36 and also a double, obviously, even though it's against Arsenal and Liverpool. Yeah, I think that's the sort of players you could go for. Let me know, by the way, if you have any thoughts yourself. Yeah. Nketiah nailed. I talked about this before. I don't think he's going to start every single game until the end of the season, but against West Ham, he shouldn't be benched. You know, he had a good game against United despite blanking. Reece James has only had one 90-minute match in the league under his belt since Game Week 20, though. I mean, once again, like, around the period where I got him in, for example, because the question originally was, why did you go for James over Alonso? I mean, the reason why is because Alonso was actually kind of in and out of the team himself, and they were playing Malang Sarr, you know, they were doing different stuff, playing different players at left wing back. So, look, right now, heading into this period, of course, Alonso looks like the better option, and the main reason why I'm kind of like skeptical about that kind of question is because who would have expected James to be injured right now? You know, yes, he's injury prone, but does that mean he was going to be injured in a double game week? Like, yeah, it's very hard or very difficult to kind of say these things beforehand. Tuchel said James has a hamstring niggle and is being rested precaution. Yeah, I mean, hopefully. Look, let's wait and see. Hopefully it's nothing serious, but if it's a... Look, if they have another test, you know, it could come out with something quite negative with that hamstring and he could be out for some time, and then I'm definitely getting rid of him. At least United showed some fight against Arsenal. Yeah, I actually saw some United fans say it's one of their better performances, and that's probably why they were frustrated by losing 3-1 to Arsenal. But like I said, United should have scored more goals, but at the same time, come on. Like, Arsenal this season, in my opinion, have been a better team. So, yeah. If I was a United fan, of course, I'd be embarrassed to lose to Arsenal, but at the same time, I would have been embarrassed to lose to United. That's just the simple truth. Not Young, when we're talking about Bruno not being classed this season. No, fair enough. Yeah, I get your point. Look, Bruno has been a good player. He's probably been United's best signing in recent years, I'd say. And he took them from 6th to challenging for the top 4 and even going into 2nd. But this season he's been awful. In the Champions League he's been alright, you know, at least in the group stages, but yeah. Yeah, I agree, blood tap Arsenal, but there you go. Arsenal or Spurs for the 4th spot. Look, I'm still sceptical about Arsenal. You know, they just got 2 great results, but just before that they lost to Brighton, Southampton and Crystal Palace. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of twists and turns. You know, Spurs could win next week against Leicester and Arsenal lose to West Ham, and then we're talking about Spurs being in the top 4. So I honestly still think Spurs, but both of them obviously have the best chance. I don't think United will get it now. Diaz a good pump for the rest of the season? I would say so, but as you well know, Eduardinho, you're a Liverpool fan, of course. I just don't know if Diaz is going to start as much in the Premier League as I would like. I think he's going to be more favoured in the Champions League. In the FA Cup, it might be Jota, but in the Premier League, I just don't know. If it wasn't for Jota and Diaz kind of sharing the limelight, yeah, I would go for him, but otherwise, no. It's just not worth it. Yeah, fair enough, it's Brandon, but if you can, try find a way for cash, because Young doesn't really fill me with confidence. I see what you're saying. Mane elbows or jumps a lot, especially early in the game. The thing is, though, we've seen it multiple times. I just don't know why referees don't, you know, they're not aware of it. That's just the way I see it. Do not bench Broja because he had 1 goal and 1 assist against Crystal Palace in Game Week 17. Fair point, but then he's got... Let's check his returns, and honestly, I'm probably going to throw up after seeing this, but his returns have been awful. This is my problem with him. Look, since game week 24, that was his last return against Tottenham. Ever since, he's been blanking. I mean, that is a disgraceful record. Yes, he's cheap, he's an enabler, but yeah, he's been awful for me, and he's probably going to come off the bench if Reece James doesn't feature in the second game. Arsenal still a joke club, the jesters of England. I'll leave. I'll let the masses decide. Basically, I'm not going to say anything about that. Time to swap Son for KDB. To be fair, that's not a bad shout, and I think De Bruyne outscores Son until the end of the season. But I still like Son a lot, and in terms of value, I still think he offers the better value of the two. I don't know about KDB chat. Pep said he's been having troubles because KDB, Ake, etc. have been playing with discomfort, so the Pep roulette might return. The thing is, though, like City need to win every game, and the same goes for Liverpool. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if KDB misses out 1 or 2 games, for example, in the Prem, and then people, obviously get pissed off, and rightfully so. But yeah, what's up with Saka? Well, basically, after the Chelsea game, he felt a knock, and Arteta said 4 or 5 players heading into the United game had problems. I think Xhaka was one, Saka was another. I think Cedric might have been the other. I'm not sure, and Ben White. So, or maybe Nketiah as well. So yeah. Those were the players that had issues heading into the United game. Saka, obviously, multiple times was kind of getting kicked, and at the same time, obviously, he was just feeling something from probably the game before. So, yeah, it's just a knock, I think. He should be fine. If he misses any game week, it's probably game week 35, but should be fine for 36. If you score your pens, you get closer to winning games. I mean, this is the thing, though. Like, that was a turning point. I already admitted, Arsenal were very lucky. Very, very lucky against United. And United should have scored 2 goals. But in my opinion, Arsenal deserved to win the game. United only dominated for 25 minutes, I'd say, or maybe 30. But, yeah, obviously, that is the complete turning point for me. Get Alonso in for James. Locked in. Oh, fair enough, yeah. Fair play, fair play. I'm just not sure if I'd do that right now. I think I might prefer going for a City defender like Laporte or maybe Joao Cancelo, but yeah, I mean, Alonso's been in great form right now, and James is so annoying, honestly. I already have Emerson on my bench. I can't see Spurs keeping a clean sheet against Leicester. Fair enough, but I think against, maybe not in the double, but in 37 and 38, I could see clean sheets there. But that's a fair point. Erik ten Hag needs time to rebuild United to the title. Yeah, definitely. I think he will do a decent job, at least better than Ranić and all these other managers, but then again, he's going to have more backing, and then we'll see where United are at. But in terms of winning the title, you would probably suspect 3 or 4 years until they start challenging again. But yeah, oh no, here we go. Of course, Arsenal have been better over the season, but it shows levels. A lot of people saying you're having a great season. Yeah, but Goldhead, United have the most expensive squad in the world, don't they? If not the second or third. And Arsenal have a young squad. I mean, it's kind of, yeah, Arsenal, the reason why people are saying Arsenal having a great season, and I don't agree, by the way, I don't think it's been a great season, but it's because they've been finishing 8th recently. They're doing a rebuild. They've got the youngest squad and the youngest manager, whilst United have Ronaldo, Sancho, Varane. You finished 2nd last season, and now you're 6th. Like, come on. Like, you have to put context into it, in my opinion. Eric will sell Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Maguire. Maybe, but then he could get the best out of them. You never know. And a few years ago, everyone was talking about Wan-Bissaka being the best defensive right-back, Maguire being, a good centre-back. So things change very quickly. Bruno needs to play as a 10 alone to shine without interruption. I mean, I've said this before, it's very evident with Portugal as well. He just doesn't coexist with Ronaldo. I'm not saying they can't coexist ever again, but I don't know. Bruno just can't, I don't know. Like, from what we've seen this season, apart from the Champions League where sometimes they combine very well, it just hasn't worked out. That stupid ref literally destroyed the game. I'm guessing you're talking about the United game. Yeah, look, like I said, that referee, and I remember him against, Wolves against Arsenal last season. He's awful. All of these referees are awful. I'm struggling to think of one good referee. Yeah, okay, maybe I shouldn't have said that thing, but like, I don't want to say, my own thoughts as well, because obviously we want to keep this professional. Yeah. I blame Conte for Spurs' dry spell. Kane isn't dropping deep as usual, yeah, and there's no other playmaker in that team. I completely agree. I said it last week, and obviously some Spurs fans pointed it out to me as well, and it's completely true. Who creates? If Kane doesn't drop deep and it gives, Son and Kulusevski the license to make those, devastating runs, what's going to happen with Spurs? I think they're quite one-dimensional, and they rely a lot on their wing-backs as well as Son and Harry Kane. So let's wait and see. Spurs still have a great chance for top 4 because of their fixtures, really, and because they have those world-class players that Arsenal don't, for example. Great question, Wei saying yes. I believe so. I think Arsenal need him desperately. Cedric was getting torn apart by Sancho and whoever, really. You know, Cedric was awful. He was lucky not to concede the penalty. I hope he doesn't start the next game. What to do with James? Great question. I think if he's... Basically, if he starts against United and he shows us what he can do, then I'd maybe be inclined to keep him. But otherwise, I'd probably look to sell, potentially. He's been awful. And even if he's, for example, fit in 36, do I expect him to start both games? Well, based on what we've seen recently, probably not. Do you think Cancelo kind of troll recently? I still think he's been quite consistent recently with the returns. But obviously the Watford game is prime trolling there. But, you know, Watford probably should have scored another one. I think João Pedro had a free header, didn't get on target. He's still a great option, Cancelo, and I would love to get him myself. And I'm actually happy that City conceded because... it puts people off those defenders. Thoughts on Weghorst to Dennis and Doherty to Cash? I think they're good transfers, but recently Weghorst has actually gotten some returns and he should have scored in the second game of Gameweek 33, so, you know, I think he's been showing a bit of form at least. Doherty to Cash is definitely a great move, but yeah, if you need to do that other transfer to facilitate the Cash move, then go for it. I think it's great. Might do. A bit annoying not going with him outright on the wildcard. Yeah. Reece James, though, so frustrating. Probably the most frustrating player for me in the last 10 game weeks. Newcastle win the league before United. Wow. I mean, to be honest, it seems outlandish, but with the resources they have, it's not really the worst call in the world. Man United also have a young squad, though. Is it as young as Arsenal, though? I mean, you've got veterans like Varane, Ronaldo. I mean, he's 37 after all. Arsenal's squad is way younger. I mean, if you've got like a stat that shows the average squad age of, you know, United and it's not too far from Arsenal, then fair play, but I think there's a big difference between the two in terms of age. There's levels to United and Arsenal squads as well, mate. Look, if you look at it on paper, everyone, absolutely everyone would say United would finish above Arsenal, and that everyone was actually saying, especially United fans, that they'd compete for the title. You know, this is an absolute disastrous season, and I think United will get their lowest points total in their history in the Premier League. So, look, I agree with you, Goldhead. Arsenal haven't had a great season. You know, I even myself have questioned Arteta at times after the 3 losses in a row. Like, that's, in my opinion, a sackable offence, but it's a young squad. There's going to be a lot of inconsistency, and I think it's unfair to say Arsenal have been, or they're terrible, or the laughingstock of England. Yeah, in the last maybe 10 years, in total, they have been a joke club, but they have shown signs of a long-term plan, and they can improve. And in terms of the long-term vision, I said this before, Arsenal are in a better trajectory than the likes of Spurs and United. But of course, United always have that pull. They've got so much resources and they constantly spend a lot of money. And you can still attract Ronaldo and these sorts of players even when you're not looking too good. What's your thoughts on yourself, Mr. Werner? Well, he's been in good form recently, but obviously a lot of people got kind of, let's say, not overhyped or whatever, but they got a bit carried away because he scored against Arsenal. It was a deflected goal. But overall, he's definitely been in great form and he's a good option. I just don't trust him enough, and that's why I didn't go for him myself. He can really go big against United, but I still prefer Mason Mount and Havertz, in my opinion. Varane has been injured twice most of the season. Yeah, true, he has been injured for most of the season, but whenever he has played, he hasn't really looked that good, and people would just blame Maguire, but Varane hasn't been that good himself. And in my opinion, Varane always needs that, centre-back next to him, like Ramos, even Umtiti in the 2018 World Cup. And he was good back then, by the way. I'm not just pulling out random names. But I don't think Varane is the type to really lead a defence by himself. That's just the way I see it. I could be wrong. Do you think when Oli gets sacked, do you reckon they should have got Conte as the interim? I don't think Conte would have accepted an interim position, to be honest. But yes, I think they should have got Conte, period. And a lot of Spurs fans pointed towards that 3-0 loss to United as the best result of their season because it meant they got rid of Nuno, they pulled the trigger on that, and they got Conte in finally. So, it's quite a difficult one. I don't think Conte's a great long-term manager, but he would have gotten United probably top 4 this season. And if not, at least right up there, challenging for it. Let's see, what else do we have? Man United record, biggest transfer loss, spending 1 billion on players. This is the thing I keep talking about. So since Ferguson left, United have spent an identical amount to Manchester City. But, everyone talks about Pep being a checkbook manager, but he's getting the good signings. He's making the right calls, and City are making just great recruitment. They've got a structure in place. Everyone knows their roles. United, everything's a mess. And they've spent the exact same amount pretty much. And look at where the squads are now. City, how many players from United get into City? Probably Ronaldo only. And that's just the maximum. That's it. So there you go. Don't worry, United fans, Ten Hag is going to win the treble next year. Oh, here we go, the jinxing. Varane, Ronaldo, Sancho De Gea, all the new signings. What an amazing sight. Oh, wait, we're not in August like last year. Jesus Christ. But this is the thing, I'll be honest, like a lot of United fans I saw, maybe not the ones I know, but, you know, on Twitter and everything, people were getting carried away because they finished second last year. But then if you added context to it, Liverpool had a lot of injuries. You know, they weren't the same team. Chelsea were still rebuilding. They made a transfer, or should I say they managerial change midway through the season. Arsenal still rebuilding. So, yeah, you know, things can change very quickly in football, basically. But I never expected them to challenge for the title, or at least not win it. How likely is Richarlison nearly out due to accumulation of yellow cards? He gets a lot of yellow cards, so that's a good point. The thing is, I'm not a big fan of Richarlison. You know, he can always come big in a double game week like he did in 31, but I don't know. I think you make a good point. You know, he's not very far off from getting a suspension. Let me double check that for you because I don't want to give you any wrong information. So that's a good shout. He always seems to get booked, that guy. So let me check this for a second. So Richarlison, how many yellow cards does he have? Yeah, he's got... Wait, what? Oh, for a second I thought he had 13. I'm like, what? Yeah, he's got 1 yellow card away from suspension. So yeah, I'd be very, very worried about Richarlison. Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. I never really would have considered that. Maguire, Wan-Bissaka and Bruno all need to be sold. Okay, like, I'll be honest. If I was a United fan, I wouldn't want Bruno sold because he's done a lot for them. He took them, you know, from 6th to challenging for the top 4 and going into 2nd from time to time. Maguire and Wan-Bissaka, I never really liked them that much. You know, I remember when Wan-Bissaka was at Palace, Arsenal fans wanted him, you know, at the club. I just never really saw it. Maguire, to be fair, at Leicester he looked decent, you know, and Emery wanted him. I was like, you know what, that could be a decent signing, but yeah, in hindsight, I'm happy we didn't sign him. I don't know about Bruno being sold though. I just don't agree with that. Yes, he's been poor this season, but he's still really good in terms of goal contributions. Yes, his overall play isn't great, but I don't know about that. Evening, Dylan. Thoughts on doing Son to KDB and James to Cash? To be honest, I like those transfers a lot. As much as I would like to keep Son, I think that's a great set of transfers, Kobe. Will Cash be a good buy? I think so. Now, Villa won't keep a lot of clean sheets, but they've got 2 back-to-back doubles in 36 and 37 and good fixtures overall. Spurs are too sporadic, I feel. Well, that's why Arsenal are still in the top 4 race, despite losing 3 games in a row just before the last 2. You know, Spurs are very inconsistent, and they could beat Villa 4-0. Son is so clinical, Kane carries them to victories. But at the same time, they can struggle to score. So there you go. Is going without Cancelo for the rest of the season a bad idea? I'm thinking of getting a Crystal Palace defender and a Villa one for their double in 37. No, that makes sense, Jack. And you have to think about the long term. You don't need a City defender necessarily, but they have the best defence. And if you can get a piece of their defence, whether it's Laporte, Cancelo, whoever, then I would go for it. But you don't need it. Can you remind us all next season not to buy Reece James? Okay, I'll try to do that. Hopefully, look, if you find me saying you have to buy Reece James at one point, try to speak sense back into me or something. Referee for Liverpool game is awful, just couldn't control both teams. Exactly. We were discussing that earlier as well, Wei saying. I completely agree. And actually, I think he's got a track record of not being able to control, you know, kind of high-intensity games. How do you change the kits? It's just the FPL away kits Chrome extension. That's pretty much it, mate. Nothing else, really. So, yeah, just type that on Google and you'll find it. Cash and Dennis on my bench. Yeah, I mean, who would have thought Dennis would get an attack and return against City? Not me, mate. Not me. I have no chips left. Thoughts on James, Share, Wood to Alonso, Cash, Laporte, Gelhardt for a -8. To be honest, I like those transfers. Yeah, I like them a lot. I would only do James to Alonso, though, if James has kind of a long-term issue or his minutes are managed against United, because then I'd be very worried. So, yeah, I like those transfers, though, Golden Boys. Wouldn't really recommend too much else. If you have enough money, maybe upgrade Gelhardt to a better striker, but that's just kind of a nitpick. Please rate this back 5 to the end of the season. Trent, Robertson, Laporte, Cash, Alonso. Honestly, that's probably what I would do. Maybe Cancel instead of Laporte if you can afford it, but that's probably the best defence you can assemble. A 9 out of 10 if you want a rating specifically. Who do you think Newcastle will buy next season? That's a great question. I think they'll buy a striker, so maybe someone like Jonathan David. Like, that's just kind of a weird guess, you know, just something out there. I'm not too sure exactly. They're constantly linked to like Dembele and stuff like that. I don't know about that, but maybe Jonathan David could be one. Bench boosting in 36. Top recommendations. Up front, Pukki, Dennis, Nketiah. And Watkins as well. In the midfield, I'd say Coutinho, Mason Mount or Havertz. Son still, Kulusevski, Saka. There's a lot of midfielders, to be fair. Defenders is the same old. Liverpool fullbacks, Matip, if you want to go there. Alonso, definitely. He's looking like the best Chelsea defender right now. And who else is there? Yeah, Cancelo and Laporte, they can probably double in 36. It's looking very likely. So, yeah, that's the kind of players I'd go for. And Schmeichel in goal and Foster. Do we know the extent of Saka's injury, mate? It's just a knock. That's basically it. Thank you, by the way, Waysing and Golden Boys, for timing out those weird pages. I don't know where they came from, by the way. Apparently, they go into other FPL streams as well. Oi, Dylan, can you confidently look at free Man City without having a playable bench, or is it far too risky? I'll be honest, I think it is risky. If it's Laporte, Cancelo and De Bruyne or Foden, I think that's good enough. They might be benched once in a while, but not too often, and that's fine. But definitely don't go for players like Mahrez, Sterling. You know, they're going to bite you more often than not. So, yeah, that triple up is fine, but there will still be rotation from time to time, Damien. Wanted to be a bit gung-ho for the rest of the season. That's completely understandable. I would go for 1 or 2 City players if possible. Maybe 3 is a bit overboard. Rudiger leaving, Chelsea's finished. I don't know about they're completely finished, but he is their best centre-back, or at least behind Thiago Silva. Yeah, it's a big miss, but then again, you know, if Rudiger's not really willing to wait, then just get rid of him. You know, you might as well have players that want to be at Chelsea. A punt on Son captain over Salah next week. I am considering it, actually. On paper, Salah has a better fixture, but actually I would argue Leicester is the better game. Arsenal have the youngest average age in the league. There is no comparison in terms of experience age, in my opinion. No, I agree. United do have some young players like Alanga and Sancho, but I'll be honest, you know, if United make a few top signings, or at least on paper, they sign some big players in the summer, do you think Alanga's going to get a lot of minutes next season? I just don't think so. Obviously, let's wait and see, but I don't think there's a really... I don't think it's similar compared to Arsenal. I think there's a huge difference in terms of average age. Hi, mate. Would you get in KDB or Son this week? If I had to bring in one, it'd be KDB right now. But Son, obviously, is still a great option. Do not discount him. United are like Liverpool in the Souness era, a mess. Every team goes through it. Every single team. Arsenal went 8 years without a trophy. They're still going through some tough times. Chelsea, obviously, before the takeover. City as well. Every club goes through stages. Varane too slow, needs cover from teammate. It's funny because I remember, at least, you know, maybe in his younger days, he was rapid. You know, I remember his top speed. You know, against Galatasaray, he was like 19 years of age. He made some incredible recovery run. Completely agree with your point on Varane. Look, I'm not saying he's a bad centre-back. I just don't think he can lead a defence by himself. You know, he needs someone else next to him. So if he had someone like... I was going to say Marquinhos, but he's been a bit weird recently as well. Even Diaz or Van Dijk, then I think you'd see the best out of him. But even then, you know, I just don't think he's, you know, enough. United need another centre-back. They need a lot. Obviously, United fans will know more than me. Mahrez good to draw in, or is it too risky with Pep Roulette? Too risky. And I think, yeah, I was just talking to you, Damien, about that. I think Mahrez is way too risky. I wouldn't mind Raya to replace De Gea next season. Wow. The thing is, though, De Gea's been good. His distribution is very poor, and Rise is better, at least from what I saw against Spurs, but De Gea is still a better shot stopper. He's probably the best shot stopper in the league. At least, definitely top 3. And Man United is a commercial club anyways. To be fair, a lot of clubs are commercial. They're businesses nowadays, you know, but United are more focused on that than the football for sure. At least City and Chelsea and these sorts of oil clubs, you know, so to speak, at least they focus on success. In terms of a recruitment, Liverpool carries the day. Yeah, no, that's true. You know, even Diaz... I watched him in the Copa America, and you know he gave Argentina, you know, a nightmare basically to defend against. And you know he obviously. I wasn't expecting him to go to Liverpool in the middle of a season, but I was surprised he didn't go to anyone in the summer. And there you go. You know he finally got his move. Liverpool have made a lot of good signings, and same with City. That's why they're the 2 best teams in the league and in the world. Is Richarlison a risky asset for double Gameweek 36? Definitely. And I actually haven't recommended him today, and I don't trust Everton. I would rather go for Watkins, Dennis, Tony, Pookie and Kane. But yes, definitely. He's 1 yellow card away from suspension. Yeah, these bots spamming more than Liverpool with the crosses. Wow. Jesus, you're in comedy mode today, mate. Jesus Christ. But yeah, no, I always get that sort of thing nowadays. I'm not sure why. Maguire versus Soyuncu. I remember when Soyuncu joined Leicester, everyone was saying he's better than Maguire. I remember that. But I don't think there's a huge difference between the two, honestly. I think Soyuncu is quite suspect as well. Tempted to captain Robertson in 35. I mean, after his performance just now, why not? But I don't know if I'd go there now. Ramsey plus Saka or Coutinho and Odegaard. Probably Ramsey and Saka, so long as Ramsey's on your bench. I wouldn't want to start Ramsey. It's just I don't like Odegaard that much FPL-wise. Evening, Dylan. Evening to you as well, Keith. Thank you for tuning in. Which transfer should I prioritise, Reguilon to Cash or Sancho? Honestly, I'd rather get rid of Sancho, but the thing is, Reguilon is in and out of the team. constantly having injury problems. Sessegnon could be the first choice left wing back. So yeah, honestly, I don't know. Probably makes sense to do Reguilon to Cash actually, mate, but I just don't like Sancho, honestly. OG Leicester backline, yeah. Probably, yeah, but I don't know. Leicester have always kind of been not the greatest defensively, even when they won the league, although they were better then, obviously. I have Watkins and Cash. Should I triple up with an Aston Villa midfielder? Maybe Coutinho, but you don't need to, mate. I think 2 is a good amount of Villa players. Welcome, Tezza, once again. Hi, Dylan. Do you like Cash for the run-in? Yes, I do. I'm not a huge fan of Villa defensively. Let me make that very clear. But I think Cash is a really good, option. He's definitely better than Dean and all these other options that Villa have at their disposal. Would you sell Barnes to Saka? Yes, I would. I still would sell Barnes. I would rather have Saka. Okay, Shepard, thank you. And, well, by the way, on screen I'm showing you my team selection for Gameweek 35, but I'll show you my points if you want to see that. So, yeah, 56 points, but I've got Vehicles coming off the bench. That's 61, and I'm into the top 27k, so can't complain too much. This season, this week was looking quite poor for me. But yeah, that Liverpool game did help me for sure. Do you think Nunez will join a Premier League club? He's constantly linked to them. United, Arsenal, West Ham in January. I think he will, but there's a lot of strikers. Lautaro Martinez probably could come into the Premier League or make a big move. There's a lot of strikers that have shown a lot of promise. Who was I even thinking about recently? Obviously, Jesus could be coming to Arsenal, which, to be honest, what a great performance yesterday. I didn't expect that. There's a lot of strikers. So, yeah, if, let's say, for example, Arsenal, United can't sign Nunez, they'll have someone else, definitely. Maybe like someone like Osmihem, also Jonathan David. So much to choose from. Yeah, he is a troll, yeah. Oh, yeah, Cash or Laporte, as I have no chips. Yeah, if you have no chips, I'd go for Cash. In my opinion, I think Laporte, if City's double falls into 36, Golden Boys, it looks like it will fall into 36. Ben Krellin said there's a 70% chance, and it's looking very likely. Do you think Nketiah keeps his place? Yes, but I'm not sure if he's going to start every single game until the end of the season. Evening to you as well, John. And yes, sunny Florida, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's really good, mate. Robertson, yeah, 15-point haul, mate. Foden looks okay. Yeah, despite his benching, I still think he's a good option in the long term. I was always kind of expecting him to be benched against Watford. Dylan, would you have Salah or Haaland or both in your team next season, as Trent and others will rise in price? Good question. Yeah, Haaland looks like he's going to go to City. I'd rather have both. Trent could be like 8.5 million to start with, or even 9 million. Who knows? We always say this though, and he ends up being 7.5. Yeah, that's a good question. I'd still want to have... You know what? I think I'd want to go big at the back. Have at least one City defender and one Liverpool. But then by the time my first draft video comes out, I'll probably go with someone so weird, like a 4.5 million defender. He could offer great value. I think last season, or heading into this campaign, it was Fofana. Yeah, I mean, come on. We always kind of buy into this kind of value, trying to search for the next big thing, the next Lundstrom, and it never really works out. If it was up to you, which centre-back would be an ideal Rudiger replacement? That's a fantastic question. I need to think about that, actually. I mean, look, this is a good centre-back. I'm not sure... He's not going to be an ideal like-for-like replacement for Rudiger. He's a completely different profile player. But Lisandro Martinez from Ajax, and I also talked to someone, a United friend I have, and I thought, he could be a good signing for them as well. Can play defensive midfield too. But in terms of maybe a more traditional centre-back that could kind of fill the Rudiger void, it's quite tough, because there's not many centre-backs like that. That's a good question. I need to think about that. I'll try to go back to it, but that's going to be quite difficult for me to think of someone because mainly looking at the top clubs. Who is there really? If you could, maybe Marquinhos. I mean, I don't know. Would you sign Marquinhos? I don't know. I have no idea. That's a really kind of outlandish FIFA career-esque transfer. If it was up to you... Oh, yes, I just read that. Is James a sell? Right now it's looking like yes, Tech. But if he does start against United and he shows, if he plays at the right wing-back spot, has some good underlying performances or stats, then yes, I would consider keeping him then. But otherwise, no. Thoughts on Rice to Chelsea? I think he's going there or Man United. And yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised. I think it would be a decent signing, but I think United would actually... I think United need them more, if anything. But Kante has kind of dipped recently in recent months, yeah. They might regret selling Tomori. Honestly, I have no idea why they did. He's better than Christensen and all these other centre-backs they have like Malang Sarr, but there you go. They might buy him back in the end. What do we think of James and Son to cash in KDB for a -4? Honestly, as much as I like Son a lot, I think I'd go for it, Stephen. I like it a lot. Any news about Man City's double game week? Yeah, as I just said, Brian, it's looking like it's going to go into game week 36. That's what Ben Krellin said the other day. If James doesn't play, do I go to Laporte or should I do a -4 to get Schmeichel in for Sarr? I wouldn't take a -4 because Schmeichel's playing Spurs and I would expect Spurs to score in that game. Kane has a great record against the Foxes. I would do Laporte in for Reece James if Reece James misses out in the second game. I don't think Chelsea getting Koundé and Rice is enough. I actually don't like Koundé a lot. From what I've seen, and to be fair, it's not much, but in La Liga, against the likes of Barcelona, and I think he scored a great goal in one game I watched, but I've never been convinced by him. He got absolutely destroyed by Dortmund and Haaland. I think it was last season, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I don't like him too much. I think Rice is a better signing. De Ligt, I don't know. I think he's a bit overhyped by some people. Yes, he's talented. He has a lot of potential, but I just don't know if he's that great. Man U had lost every game to without Maguire. Yeah, 6 out of 6 this season. That's a great point, Manish. Yeah. Do you think Jesus will play Premier League games? I'm not sure if he's going to play every game. I don't think so. I think he will play a few. So let's say up until Game Week 38. How many games remaining? So we're talking about 5 games left or 6. I think he maybe starts 3 or 4, but I'm not sure if he will start enough for us to really consider him. And I could be wrong about that. It's kind of just a guess there. Welcome, Mohammed. I'm doing well. What about you, mate? A lot of people saying De Gea's distribution is bad. Ramsdale. No, yeah, look. I've actually been really critical of Ramsdale. He's been awful recently. I even called him crap, basically. He's still a better kicker of the ball than De Gea, but he just makes stupid decisions sometimes. And even the goal for Ronaldo, I mean, what was he doing coming out like that? Be assertive, control your box. He did make some good claims, and he wasn't awful. He made a really good save from Dallo onto the post, but Ramsdale's been awful recently. Transfer plans for this week. Right now is to hold, actually, and to roll the transfer, but I'll talk about this later on, actually, in future videos as well. Keep Ronaldo for Game Week 35 at home to Brentford, or bring back Salah. I would bring back Salah or get KDB, mate. Yes, Ronaldo can score against anyone, and that could cost you, but honestly, I think that Salah and KDB are better options. Yep, United need a new CDM, centre-back, right-back, left-back, centre right-wing, centre-forward, goalkeeper. I agree, but I don't think goalkeeper's a big priority. I think they could do fine with De Gea. A lot is made of his kicking, but he still makes some top-class saves. Right winger, they could still play Sancho there, although you could argue he's better on the left. But yeah, definitely, I agree with all of them. But I just don't see Ronaldo being there next season, and if he is, he's probably not going to be there the season after that. So they definitely need a striker. I think Gabriel Jesus will play the remaining games. Fair enough. If Mahrez plays out wide, if Cancelo attacking output now that he's playing right back. Yeah, in terms of Mahrez though, I just don't see him playing too much in the Premier League. Richarlison's not one from suspension. It's 15 cards now. Thank you for the correction, Tech. That's my apologies for that. When did it go up to 15, by the way, Tech? But yeah, that's good to know. Thank you very much. Bench Harvey Barnes or Weghorst next game week. I'm not a big fan of either. I'd maybe bench Harvey Barnes. I'm not sure though. Fofana versus White. To start next week, I'd probably go for White, just about. Do you think Kane or Son is essential in Game Week 38? Not essential, but I would want to have one of them, yes. It'd be kind of hiding behind your sofa time, because Spurs will definitely score in that game. These bots spamming more than Lord Maguire's hit on his teammates. Yeah, that's a good point. Hayden Alonso, hype trim was brilliant. Good shout. To be fair, I didn't really point him out per se. I talked about him, I highlighted him, but I still thought Reece James was a better option heading into this game week. A mistake of mine, I will admit. But obviously Reece James was very unlucky, or Reece James owners, for him to be injured, basically, because that came out of nowhere. But fair play to any of you who got Alonso, and it's a great call. It's a huge swing, and he could get you into the ranks you want. Havertz overrated, always seems to blank when I own him. I think he's a decent player, and he's quite unique. The way he plays, he's kind of like a second striker, a centre forward. I kind of see him as, even though he's a traditional attacking midfielder, you could argue. But he gets into good positions. He's a good finisher. He scores in big games for Chelsea, but I don't know. I've never got him in FPL, actually. I'm quite certain I've never had him in FPL since he joined last season. I think Mount's a better option. I went for him for that reason. But he's a good player. He's not amazing. I don't think he's going to reach the potential that we all thought. He reminds me a bit of Götze, although I think Götze was a bit more... I think he was a bit more talented. But yeah, he's not bad, but he's not amazing, basically. Bench Cody versus Brighton or White? No, I'd definitely bench White. I'd rather start Cody, and it's a bit similar to what you see on screen now, actually. I've put Jose Sarr over Ramsdale. I don't expect a clean sheet for either team, but if anyone does, it would be Wolves, I think. Do you think wingers will become forwards next year? Maybe Salah or something like that. They need to find a way to fill this striker void because it's awful. At least increase the amount of points from 4 to 5 as a forward, because Salah being a midfielder is just so OP. Same with Son. They basically act as forwards. So yeah, it's just kind of easy to just get them into your team and get the points there. So that's a good point. Yeah, Koundé could replace Rudiger at Chelsea. Yeah, I've been hearing this over the years, but the thing is, I just don't like Koundé a lot myself. That's not to say he's a bad player and he can't do well at Chelsea, but I think Chelsea could do better. Any transfers for Gameweek 35? Right now, no, not for me. If James is injured for a long time, then I would want to improve my squad depth and potentially get Laporte or something like that. I would consider that for sure. Or maybe even Matty Cash. Rigby says Kimpembe. I actually think he's not that good. If anything, I think he's quite poor actually. He makes quite a lot of mistakes. He's quite shaky. Pau Torres, Koundé, Tomori, yeah. I especially like Tomori and Pau Torres. Tomori more so, actually. Fofana could remain at 4.5 million, to be fair. Yeah, but I don't know. Leicester defensively have been awful this season. I don't know if I'd go there. Things can change, though. And, football isn't always the same every season. Yeah, I like Pau a lot. Yeah, United, they wanted him last season as well, after the Europa final as well. For the United top 4 thing, Conte is playing with Sessegnon and Real as wing-backs, still fighting for top 4. Yeah, but then again, you could say the same about Doherty. Now everyone, from Spurs is kind of upset that he's injured for the rest of the season, but they're not bad wing-backs. Yeah, Real and Sessegnon, fair enough. I think they're pretty awful. But Reguilón, he was quite highly rated, before he joined Spurs. United wanted him. He won the Europa League with Sevilla. He was a Real Madrid player. So I don't know what's happening there. I don't think Conte's getting the best out of Reguilón. Yes, then again, there is the element of Reguilón getting constantly injured and stuff, but sometimes he's been benched, his minutes are being managed, maybe because of the injury, but, he's a good wing-back. And Doherty's not bad also. I know he was bad last season. Censored myself there. But yeah, I see what you mean. But Conte does play some very poor football as well, and Spurs fans, I've seen some of them say that they want him gone and they want Pochettino back, so there you go. Liverpool, a clear example of when you have culture, any signing can work. The thing is, though, you're always going to make some kind of average signings. Even Thiago last season, he wasn't good, and at one point he never won a game, basically. So things can change very quickly, and Liverpool had a lot of injuries last season. It's very important to not get that many injuries. Last season they got it, they struggled to get into the top 4, they ended up doing it, and now, rarely getting injuries. Who's injured right now for Liverpool? No one, and it's been the same for a month now. And sometimes you need that luck to win the trophies and to also, obviously, build on that culture and build on the results. I think Tuchel plays FPL and all his private leagues rivals have James. To be fair, though, this week he was injured, it looks like. But Tuchel is very, very annoying sometimes with his Tuchel Tombola. I think that's the terminology. Look at Diaz and Jota. True. Diaz I'm not too surprised by. Jota I am, because I didn't really rate him that much when he was at Wolves. But Diaz, yeah, I thought he was a decent player from what I saw at Porto. Scored against City last season in the Champions League, and also for Colombia in the World Cup qualifiers and also in the Copa America. My target is to bench boost 36, and 8 Nuri is my last player on my bench. Who do I place for Gameweek 36 only? I would go for even a Palace defender. They don't have a double, but you could go for one of them. If not, Emerson Real, panic monster. But they are facing Arsenal and Liverpool. But maybe just, 3 or 4 points is not the worst. I'm probably forgetting somebody, by the way. I'm not sure what your budget is. If you can, go to Cash. He's a great move. Fabinho, much less hype around him back then compared to the likes of Rice and De Jong. I think they're different players, though. De Jong he kind of dictates the play. Fabinho's more of a destroyer. I'm not sure it's kind of the right comparison. Fabinho's more like a Casemiro type. It's kind of like comparing those to Kante. It's kind of a different thing. But yeah, look, Fabinho, he does get away with it sometimes as well. Same with Rodri, by the way. I hate that guy. But you need that defensive midfielder. That guy who makes those cheap fouls, those tactical ones. He seems to make 10 fouls, and the other, the opponents are screaming at the referee to give him a yellow, and he never seems to get it. But, you need that player sometimes. Tomori's been the best centre-back in Serie A this season, and yet nowhere near being called up to the England squad. Yeah, look, Southgate, I'll be honest, he's done a good job with England. He's gotten them to the semi-finals, finished 4th in the World Cup, and obviously, to the final of the Euros. But then you could also see it as England have a lot of talent. They should be doing more. And he doesn't call up the best players, but he constantly plays Maguire and Stones. He's not going to change that, and he's going to put Mings and Cody as the third and fourth centre-backs, if not Ben White. I think Tomori's better than all of them, honestly. So maybe John Stones is the only one who is arguably on a similar level or better. But yeah, the rest are definitely inferior to Tomori. But there you go. It's hard to manage a team, obviously. You know, we're all just giving our opinions. Southgate knows more about football than all of us, pretty much. But I don't know. I think he can definitely get more out of England. And I'll be honest, like, they have a chance at the World Cup, but I don't really see them as one of the big contenders. And for reasons like what you just disclosed. Ramsdale's still young, much to develop, true, but still very frustrating. And he's shown these mistakes at Sheffield as well. Now, he's had a great season overall. I'm not going to just, forget that. But in recent games, he arguably could be dropped for Leno, in my opinion. Yeah, if City double in 36, is De Bruyne nailed to play both games? I think he will play both games, but never rule out Pep and the ways of thinking. Obviously, he's thinking about his team, the ways to win all competitions, so he will know much more. But I would expect him to start both games. They can't drop any points, and De Bruyne has been in amazing form. I mean, look at that pass he gave to Jesus. That is incredible. Which other player in the league can do that? Maybe Trent and Robertson, but De Bruyne's delivery is second to none for me. It's incredible. Keep or sell Kane. What would you do though? Who would you sell Kane to in the forward position? And then what would you do with that money? If you're going to get someone like De Bruyne in the midfield, then yes, I'd probably sell him and then go about it that way. But I would still have one Spurs attacker. I don't think we should just go off all of them completely now. Man United should get Rudiger. Yeah, I've got 1,950. Do you think I can reach my target of 2,000? Yes, you can. Although, how many game weeks left? You can reach it, but you will need some huge weeks, like in game week 36 and 37. So if you have any chips remaining, you need to play them right. But yeah, I don't even know how much I have. Wait, what? I think I've already got more points than last season. I mean, I think there's more points this season in general anyway. But yeah, look, you can get to it, definitely. And either way, there's always next season as well. You can build on that. And, let's say, for example, you joined this season late. The most important thing is to have fun and then just kind of learn the game. And then next season, you'll be much better as well. Start Mateta, Connor Roberts or Emmanuel Dennis. Let's take a look at the fixtures again, just so I can see them all side by side. So, let's see. So your dilemma is... Let me just have this side by side. So, Mateta, yes, facing Southampton away, who have been awful recently. Connor Roberts, interesting. Okay. Away to Watford, Jesus. Or Emmanuel Dennis, that's a really tough question. I think, didn't Dennis get sent off against Burnley last time? I mean, I'm getting those flashbacks. I captained him that game week, for Christ's sake. But who would I start of those three? Really tough. I think I would go for Emmanuel Dennis. But very tough between him and Connor Roberts. Do you think Rafinha will move club in the summer? I'm very convinced he will. I'd love him at Arsenal, but at the same time, we're probably signing Jesus, and I just don't see us signing both of them. Rafinha could do really well at United, by the way. That could be, I was seeing a lot of United fans say they want a right winger. He could be that solution. He can also play, just behind the striker as well, although that's not as common. He's very talented, and I think that could be a great signing for them. I don't think he's going Arsenal. I was doing good till a football game today with my mates. Thought that was Steven Gerrard and blasted a shot from the midfield and hurt my knee. Wow, it went by the post, sadly. I mean, sometimes these things happen. You just pick up a little injury or something, and you're like, how am I getting injured from this? But don't worry, mate. Don't worry. Maybe warm up. I don't know. If you didn't warm up before the kind of game, I'm guessing you did, by the way. But if you didn't, be sure to warm up. It's very important to do that before you play. I constantly have problems like that now. I feel like an old man. First 5 cards in 19 games, 10 cards until 32, 15 until the end of the season. Thank you, Tech. Thank you for the clarification. That's my apologies for not knowing that. Did they change it? I'm not sure if they changed it, but I knew about the first one, 5 cards until 19, but I wasn't aware that it went up to 15. So yeah, Richarlison's 6 yellow cards away, if I'm not mistaken. I will double check that for sure though. But yeah, thank you, Tech. I mean, Fofana versus White as high potential young defender. I'm not sure. I don't think there's much in it. I don't think any of them are going to become world class, but I think they're going to become decent, Premier League proven players, basically. I think White is better on the ball, arguably. Fofana, maybe Fofana's a bit better defensively. White sometimes does seem very suspect. Start Schmeichel or Foster? I think I'd go for Foster because of the fixture. Forson the best cheap defender for Game Week 35 onwards. If you're looking at, I'd say cash, but if you're looking at really, really cheap, then I'd argue Emerson Royal would be it, or maybe one of the Palace defenders like Anderson or Mitchell. Do you rate Lautaro Martinez? Yes, definitely. I love Argentinian strikers, but he doesn't compare to a Saviola. Crespo, Higuain, Aguero, Icardi, Batistuta and Tevez. To be honest though, he's got a better international record than all of them except Batistuta and Crespo maybe. Higuain actually had a decent international record, but obviously remember what he did in the finals unfortunately. But honestly, Lautaro Martinez averages like 1 goal in 2 games. He's got more goals than Messi since Scaloni took over. And yes, Messi's not the same goal scorer as he once was, but that's still impressive. And Lautaro Martinez is very consistent for us. So I do rate him. And, you know, he scored against Roma at the weekend. I think it was yesterday. He scored against AC Milan, who had just kept 9 clean sheets in a row. I think he's very good. And people said Lukaku carried him last season. Well, look how they are now. So I honestly think Lautaro Martinez is right up there. Now, is he better than those strikers you mentioned? Probably not. But he'll probably have a better international, you know, career than most of those that you mentioned. Havertz to return recently because he overplayed. Obviously he needs rest, but Lukaku too bad. I'm just surprised by Lukaku though. I thought he'd be a good signing, and when he scored against Arsenal, I was like, yeah, typical. You know what, I'm going to get him and jinx him, but there's been no need to do that really. Should I keep Mahrez for the next 2 game weeks? It's a tricky one. I'd probably sell. Depends what money you have though. If you could go to De Bruyne, that's ideal. You know, go for it, amazing. But otherwise, you're looking at Saka, Kulusevski still. Coutinho could be a really good transfer actually. We're investing in Rodrigo. I think I said this before. I mean, look, he's not bad, but I just wouldn't go for him. I think there's better options. So yeah, this chat has been incredibly busy today, so thank you very much, and definitely wasn't expecting it. If you haven't already, you know what to do. Not even going to say it again, otherwise you guys would probably just unsubscribe and just say, shut up Dylan, for once. And I'm like, yeah, fair enough. But there you go. So I'm going to go through these questions as well. And we went through the predicted points earlier. We've been streaming for like an hour and a half. Maybe we started a bit earlier, so 1 hour 40 around that time. So yeah, it's been a blast. It's gone so quickly, honestly. I just didn't expect it. Planning on keeping Mount and selling Havertz for double Game Week 36. Yeah, I think that makes sense. If you went for both, fair enough. But the thing is, Havertz has a really good double, just like all Chelsea players do, obviously, in 36. Matip underrated, definitely. I haven't talked about him enough, and I talked about skipping him around Game Week 31, I think. That was a mistake, obviously. But I still prefer Trent and Robertson. I mean, look at what happened today with Trent. You know, he would have got the bonus points without that yellow card. Robertson gets the goal, and obviously their assist potential was incredible. I think Koundé will be the next Sarr, short and reckless. I'm not sure if he'll be that bad, but I agree. I don't like Koundé that much. From what I've seen, I don't think he's that good. Salah or Son captain? At the moment, I'm going for Salah, but actually, if you look at the fixture, I think Son is arguably just as good. So yeah, Stein, let me just search this up for you and just put the link, just for those of you that aren't aware. So let me just get this up. 1 second. Yeah, this should be it. By the way, I think you should be able to add this to any browser. No, this is a different... Okay, no. Let me get this. Where are you, mate? Where are you? Oh, Jesus. Alright, FPL away kits. Yeah, go on. What? Where are you, mate? Yeah, this is it. Okay, finally I found it. Okay. I probably should add it in the description, to be honest, because, yeah. So, here you go. I'm going to put the link here. So check that out. And, yeah, that is it. That is the link to get the FPL away kits. Okay, good. So YouTube didn't flag this one. I just don't get the YouTube logic, to be honest. But yeah, there we go. All right. Well, Jesus playing the Premier League? Like I said before, I think he'll play some games, like maybe half of them. I just don't see him playing all of them. And to be honest, he did really well against Real Madrid last time, so maybe he gets one start in the Champions League too. Who do you think will manage PSG next season? I still think it'll be Pochettino. I mean, Ten Hag has gone to United, so where's Pochettino going to go anyway? Is he going to go back to Spurs? Maybe they do a swap. Conte goes to PSG and Poch goes to Spurs again, but I think it'll be Pochettino still. I think I'm keeping the top 3 Spurs as they are nailed. Fair enough. I think I'd trim it down potentially. But they could always go big against Leicester and then suddenly everyone's like, why did I sell him? So it can go both ways. Poch just leaving probably. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what I literally just said as well. Yeah, obviously you've said this before I mentioned it, so I'm not claiming that you're copying me. Yeah, that's a good point, Manish. I think it's either that or Poch is still there. I like Region a lot on the Mourinho. Yeah, what a beast. God of 1v1 if you see they play counter park in the bus. On the Mourinho, I think Kane, Son, like in order, it was Kane, Son, Højbjerg and Region as the best players. Obviously, a Spurs fan might correct me and say, no, this player was better. But I think those were the top 4 players in Mourinho's reign. Did you want Icardi when they offered you the player? For Arsenal, no. No, because ever since he left Inter Milan, he's been awful, basically. At one point, he was a clinical finisher, one of the best in Europe, but nah, he's been awful. And he's a toxic player as well. I just wouldn't want that. And I'm happy he's not called up to Argentina as well. Liverpool signing has been top-notch. 40 million for Diaz, 30 million for Thiago, and for Jota. Klopp hired new recovery physio after the injury crisis last season. So wait, did he sack the previous one or something like that? That's mad. But yeah, look, there you go. That's what elite clubs do. They address the issues. Obviously, last season injuries were complete. It was a shambles for Liverpool, and now they never get any injuries, and yet they play with such intensity, and they're playing 64 games. I think they're the first club ever to do that. Did you think Pukki would be the next scam? Norwich are awful, to be fair. Now, Pukki has had a great season, in terms of like cheap budget strikers. He's done what he can, with limited service. I'm surprised, I thought he'd get a return, especially with Newcastle rotating so much. Forwards are awful, basically, so I still don't regret it. I got rid of Che Adams. I actually made $1 million from it, and it allowed me to get Mason Mount, so I'm not really that bad about it. Why do you hate Rodri? Just as a player, really. His antics against Arsenal should have been sent off, and then he's just shut up, mate. And also very lucky to get away with that, clear, blatant handball against Everton. But obviously, like I said, if he was at Arsenal or at my club, obviously I'd love him. I love that type of player, Mascherano, that kind of shithouse, basically. Hopefully I don't get flagged for that, but yeah, you know what I mean. So I love defensive midfielders like that, but obviously he's in another top club, so to speak. So obviously I don't like him for that. In terms of FPL, I wouldn't buy him. No chance. UCL Fantasy, maybe. Not in FPL. So yeah, we'll try skim through this because we're very far behind in the chat. I'm trying to get through all the questions. So bear with me for a second. So let's go through this. Tomorrow should come back to Chelsea or Man United to replace Maguire. Yeah, I completely agree, to be honest. And I think he's an upgrade on Maguire and probably all United centre-backs, including Varane. And obviously I'll probably get quite a lot of flack for that. Southgate has Premier League bias, yet he openly said that Bellingham would benefit with playing in the Premier League. Tomorrow's decision is just absurd. I mean, for me, Bellingham is better than probably all England midfielders except for maybe Henderson, Mason Mount. But Bellingham has the highest ceiling of all those players. And as for Tomori, he's better than all those centre-backs, apart from maybe Stones. So I just don't get it. As well, look, football isn't always about on paper. You don't just... For example, I'll just give an example. With Argentina, everyone said, I'll just play Higuain, Tevez, Aguero, Messi, Di Maria. But you need a balance. Balance is key in football. Now, England have found somewhat of a balance, but then they are a very defensive team. And when they play against teams like Italy, they struggle a lot. Those low blocks, another kind of like-minded defensive team that's not going to overcommit, leave spaces in behind for England to counter-attack. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that go behind football. It's not that simple, but I believe Bellingham and Tomori are better players than most that we mentioned before. Sheffield have 3 teams that... remember that when you speak about the City. I was in Sheffield Wednesday, Sheffield United and all that. If that's what you're on about. If not, then correct me. Who is the best Aston Villa player to bring in for Gameweek 35? I'd say Matty Cash and Coutinho. But because of the lack of forwards and we have a lot of midfielders to choose from, you could arguably just go for Watkins. So those are the top 3. I would still go for Cash in first place though. Yeah, Regan always makes a mistake in him, to be fair. No, I agree. I don't think he's that good. But under Mourinho, he was much better. Good for -8 for Laporte, Cash and Gordon for bench and money to upgrade the back, replace Cher, Cody and Rafinha. Honestly, mate, I like it. I like it a lot. And if you're bench boosting in 36, Gordon's a good option too. Mings looks better than Maguire, but Maguire, when he plays for England, looks like a different player, just like Sterling. True, Maguire's not that bad for England. And to be fair, I mean, we saw it against Arsenal. United weren't exactly amazing defensively. So, the problem stemmed much deeper. He's just overexposed at United, and that's why everyone calls him terrible. Who is the best Aston Villa player to bring in? Oh, yeah, sorry, I just said that. Rafinha, a second fiddle to Salah will be incredible. I just hope not, mate. Imagine Liverpool have 2 starting 11s like that. Just no. Go to Chelsea or something. Well, actually, maybe not. Best forward below 5.4 million. Honestly, it would have been Mateta, but I just don't really see it. Probably João Pedro. I just don't like the strikers. Haaland's price for next season? Probably at least 11.5 million, possibly 12. The same goes for Harry Kane as well. he could be 12.5 to be fair. When is the last time you played football? Oh, I used to play every day really. Recently, I don't know, probably last year, mate. That's how long ago it was. I played quite a lot of times in the summer last year to be fair, but yeah. We'll wait and see. Maybe I'll play quite a lot in the next few months actually. Best 6.6 million or under for double Gameweek 36. What is this for though, Flying Dutchman? Which position? Which type of centre back do you like in your team? I don't know, because I like even the Mascherano types. Once again, I'm mentioning him. You know, yes, he's short, but he makes up with his intelligence, his positional play. I like that type of centre back. That you don't have to be that tall or big or strong, whatever. What you are is you're smart, you're intelligent, you know when to commit. I like that type of centre back. So even like a Ruben Dias, for example. Christian Romero, I like that aggression, although sometimes he's way over the limit, and I'm only saying that because obviously he plays for my national team. I hate the fact they went to Spurs. Even Marquinhos, despite his disaster class against Real Madrid, you know, I like that type of centre back. I'd say Van Dijk as well. Obviously, you know, he's the best in the world right now. Yeah, Haaland around 12 million, I guess. Yeah, I agree. At least to 11. If he's under 11, that is a bargain, honestly. Yeah, I think they are good players to own, Zaha and James Ward-Prowse, yeah. But would I bring them in right now? Probably not. Maybe Zaha, especially if you have no free hit left, then yes, Zaha is the one to go for. But obviously James Ward-Prowse is exceptional. Well, at least we know Richarlison won't get 6 yellows between now and the end of the season. Or not, or maybe he does. Problem with making Salah, Son forwards is it becomes a slippery slope. Yep, you'll have to make wingers like Rashford, Bowen, Saka, Sterling. Exactly, and then who is a midfielder? And then do you have to have like a midfielder like Rice in your midfield? No, you wouldn't want that. So they need to find a balance, but definitely increase the number of points for a striker. And maybe a few of these forwards, like Salah and Son, like the absolute pure forwards, potentially. But don't, like Sky do, for example. But don't just make everyone that's a winger a forward, I think. Next year is Bamford time. Maybe, yeah. Especially under Jesse Marsch, they've been impressive. 2 chips left, bench boost and free hit. When is the best time to play them? I don't want to sound like a rewinded tape. I said this in previous videos and streams, but I'd say 36 bench boost and 37 free hit. I think it's pretty simple. Sell Mount to Saka this week. West Ham don't have a centre-back and Mount has the possibility of being rested. Yes, I think that's a good explanation you put there. I would still expect Mount to play, but not get the full 90. But you make a good point. He could be rested, maybe out of sympathy for Lampard as well. But yeah, I think that's a good transfer, to be fair. Although I would rather focus on other avenues, such as Reece James potentially or Doherty to a defender like Cash or Laporte or Cancelo. Sell Martinelli to Saka this week? Yes, I would do it. Do you think Bale will be a good FPL asset if he joins Spurs? Well, he was last season, and I think he had the best goal per minute ratio of any player. So yes, I think he would be. But would they sign Bale and Kulusevski? I'm not sure about that. Then again, squad depth, but I just don't see Spurs really accumulating that much. Captain KDB over Salah? I think that's a good shout this week, and I would actually captain him. Yes, I would do it. I have Mount, Havertz, Salah, Son and Dewsbury Hall. Is it mandatory to get Saka? No, not mandatory, but I do prefer Saka over Dewsbury Hall and even Havertz. Yeah. How do I improve my squad? Should I sell Son or James? I would rather sell James, mate, right now. I wouldn't want to sell Son, personally. Start Schmeichel or Pickford? Great question. I think I would go for... Normally I'd say Schmeichel, but Tottenham away, I just don't like that fixture, mate. I'd still go for Schmeichel, though. Yeah, I would expect Chelsea to score, and I hate Everton defensively. Do you think Martinelli is overrated as an FPL asset? Honestly, yes. And I like Martinelli as a young player. I don't think he's going to reach the potential that he, has or showed at least under Emery. And I agree. I think he is quite overrated as an FPL asset. And I'm an Arsenal fan, so I'm not biased there. I completely agree. I think he is. He is very enticing because at his price, he could be amazing. Against Leeds, I remember that huge haul. Everyone wanted to get him after that, but it just never materialises. He's not a consistent FPL asset. Saka is crooked. Last week, he held onto Aspie's arm, flopped and got a pen like Suarez did while at Barcelona. Look, as much as I hate it, and I hate when people do it against my club or my team, that's the way football is nowadays, and that's the only way you win a penalty. But then again, against United, I think that was a pen. And Azpilicueta should have known better. He did grab it onto him as well. Saka was being sly, and obviously, if I was referee, I wouldn't give a pen, but that's the way it is. I hate it, but there you go. And obviously, I celebrate it because it was for my team. But yeah, it's obviously not ideal, is it? Tomori is good, but definitely not one of the best yet. He's just playing Serie A. I don't know, but Serie A is still a decent league defensively. You know, it's not like 7 goals are scored every single time, and you know, AC Milan, for example, you know, he's made a difference to AC Milan. You know, before he joined, they were kind of like a top 4, top 6 club. Obviously, they made other good signings as well, but now they're challenging for the title again. They kept 9 clean sheets in a row recently. Like, yes, I'm not saying he's one of the best centre-backs in the world. I definitely don't think that, but I think he's top 3 centre-backs for England for sure. Southgate football is slow and safety first, yep, which is why Maguire always performs. I agree, yep, exactly. And also a back 3 to kind of compensate for his lack of pace, and also at times his lack of positional awareness. And by the way, yeah, thank you. I was literally going to do that, Golden Boys. Thank you very much. Yeah. Best front 3 with not spending huge money. Great question. Yeah, you're free hitting in 37 anyway. I'd say Pookie, Ivan Toney, and Watkins would be my ideal front 3. Or instead of Watkins, Dennis. So hopefully you got that, mate. Bonus points is in. Yes, they are. Wait, is it not showing on screen? Let me see. Yeah, they're in. Yeah, so I'll just show it on screen once again. But yeah, they're all in now. Thank you, Weiseng. Time to get Xhaka next year. No chance. He's good at long shots, but I wouldn't trust him for FPL. Leclerc's my turbo driver. Yeah, same here. But I'm happy in a way, and I'm not a Verstappen fanboy. I know people will probably think I am, but I just want a close race between him and Leclerc. So it's a good thing what happened today in a way. But I don't want any team or driver kind of just winning, you know, easily, basically. But yeah, obviously it's a bit of a shame. Also, I got rid of Bottas and he finished 5th. There you go. I sometimes pay too much attention to FP2. I definitely should have gotten rid of Ocon. Actually, in this case, it was FP1. Keep faith in Rudiger. Yeah, but he's leaving Chelsea, isn't he? So people will definitely want to get rid of him, don't they? So yeah, what else do we have? Oh yeah, thanks Dylan. Phil South for Ferrari for today's race. Sainz out of the race very early, and Leclerc spin. To be fair though, that was a Leclerc mistake. He obviously went overcommitted in that curb, and also he was really pushing, and sometimes it happens, you know. As for Sainz, very unlucky, very unlucky. I actually didn't see the beginning of the race. It was a pretty uneventful one from what I saw. But yeah, you play on football pitch or indoor futsal? Mainly football pitch, really. Or just a park even, you know, it doesn't have to be anything fancy, but I used to do a lot of indoor stuff, yeah, back in the day. Is Reece James a sell since he didn't play today? I would wait for the second game and see what happens against United, but if he's still, you know, struggling, he's on the bench or something, or makes a cameo, doesn't play the full 90, then yes, I would look to sell him. Haaland injury prone, yes he is, but then so is Kane, although he hasn't been injured this season so far, and I'm not wishing injury on him, by the way, or trying to jinx him. Very unlucky for Sainz, did so well in the sprint yesterday, but was screwed over in the beginning by Ricciardo. Yep. Although he did make a mistake in qualifying, although a lot of, you know, drivers did. But yeah, he was very unlucky. What's Bale's price last year? I think he was 8.5 million, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Best 5.4 million defender or less for a bench boost 36, not from Liverpool. Yeah, Coopsy Coop. I think Cash. That's the first guy that comes into my mind, so I think I'd go for him. Mikalenko is coming into my mind as he's on set pieces, and Everton looked good defensively recently. I still don't see them keeping clean sheets though. Maybe 1 or 2 here or there, but not that many. Not a bad shout though. I think I'd go for Cash. Sorry, forgot to mention midfielder. So best under 6.6 million midfielder for double Gameweek 36. For me, still Saka or Kulusevski. Is Saka even 6.6 million though? Let me check. I might be wrong about that. No, he's 6.8 now. Damn, yeah, I'm a bit behind. I'd say Kulusevski's probably my favourite. Is there anyone else? Maybe, but who? Haven't a clue. Okay, no, I'm such a Batman fanboy, as you can see from the shirt, probably. Hamilton or Gasly? Yeah, Hamilton was just constantly chasing him from the back. Obviously, Hamilton's still a great driver, but this is what I mean. Like, a lot in F1 is made of the driver, but it's also to do with the engineers, the machinery, and that's why, obviously, a lot of people will say Hamilton's the best of all time, but then he's had the best car of all time, in my opinion. You could say the same about Schumacher, Senna, all these drivers that dominated in their respective eras, but I think a lot is made of that. And sometimes a driver like Alonso, for example, really bad luck. I think he's one of the best in the grid even now, and it's about the car as well. Best goalie for the running, still Schmeichel. I don't trust Leicester defensively, but you know, he can get those save points, and when Leicester keep a clean sheet, he can get those bonus. And also, the fixtures and the amount of doubles is obviously impressive. Just a little break. Stuffy nose again. Just bloody, what can we say? allergies. But yeah, let's just show you the predicted points. Or actually, let's show you the FPL statistics since we haven't shown you that recently. I'm going to refresh the page, so I'll be right back. Don't you worry. All right, we are back. I'm now going to show you the players projected to go down in price. As you can see, Nketiah, Mount and Bruno are all looking to go up. But are you going to bring in Bruno when he's facing City and Liverpool next? Be my guest, mate. Be my guest. Who knows in football? Who knows? Havertz as well. Look, a little red arrow as well. Pookie about to go up too. And in terms of players going down, Willock, Lacazette. You've got Jose Sarr, who I've got as well. Blimey. Sace, and then kind of players we don't really care about. Robert Sanchez as well. Yeah, not really too much to talk about there in terms of price rises. Either way, I wouldn't be chasing price rises right now at this point. Just wanted to show you a little intermission there. But back to my team, heading into Game Week 35. At the moment, I'm looking to roll the transfer, but things could change, definitely. Same on mid. Oh yeah, Leclerc and yeah, Mega Driver Leclerc, Sainz Turbo Driver. That happened to me last week, and then I got it bang on with Leclerc, but Sainz obviously got me like -5 points or something, so I got -10 from him. I actually let me show you my team actually, since you mentioned F1 Fantasy. So as you can see in my second team, I actually did that. I did the exact same thing you said: Mega Drive Leclerc, Turbo Drive Sainz. At least it's not my first team, so not too bad. But as you can see, yeah. Oh, look at Norris. I should get him into my normal teammate. I mean, bloody hell. Of course my second team outscores my first team. Bloody hell, man. Look at that. I mean, to be fair, I did put the Mega Driver and stuff. But, wow, look at Perez as well. I mean, look, this is something I made a mistake last week, by the way. I think what we should do, for example, if you Turbo Drive Leclerc, we should then, Mega Drive Leclerc, we should Turbo Drive Perez, for example. Don't just go gung-ho. You know, you have Ferrari as a constructor, you go for Mega Drive Leclerc, and you go Turbo Drive for Sainz. That's a mistake I made last week, and guess what, guys? Dylan doesn't learn. He did it again this week with his second team. I should have gone for Perez there, but there you go. I thought Ferrari would dominate this week. I saw what happened in FP1. They looked by far the best, really, from what I saw. So, yeah, I'm pretty surprised by that, to be fair. There you go. You know, it's quite difficult, though, to be fair. I'm just speaking in hindsight. So, yeah. I'm going to go back to my teams now for FPL. Just a little kind of introduction to my F1. I had Verstappen as well. If only I Mega Drive Verstappen. Oh, yeah, true. You can Mega Drive Verstappen. Obviously, you can't Turbo Drive, which is a bit weird. Worth investing in Coutinho, Ramsey and Watkins? Yes, it is worth it, but Coutinho and Watkins will be my preference, not Ramsey. He's just the kind of bench fodder option, really. If you're looking to bench boost in 36, then yes, I'd go for Ramsey. Otherwise, not really. Mane is a differential. Yes, definitely. Look, he's been in great form recently. No doubt about it. But still, for me, Salah, Robertson and Trent is my ideal triple up in Liverpool. Nketiah or Richarlison for a bench boost in 36. Probably Richarlison, if I had to pick one, if you have the money. Is Alonso and Watkins in for James and Wood worth it for a -4? Yes, it is. But wait for the second game in Game Week 34, United versus Chelsea. See what happens with James and then make a decision. Rudiger's leaving, but we'll give it all until the end of the season. Yeah, no, I agree. Definitely. But I don't think he's a great FPL option or as great as, for example, Laporte, Cancelo, even maybe Cash, Alonso, Trent and Robertson, Matip. Leclerc was greedy. He wanted to do the DRS to overtake Perez and cause him to mess up the turn. Yeah, no, he definitely got greedy and he made a mistake, but Sainz was very unlucky. Oh yeah, there you go. Bale started at 9, ended up around 9.5. Yeah, that's the correction. Thank you very much. And he actually offered very good value when he started. Dallo is a good bench option, 4.2 million, hit the bar and post last game. United, though, they haven't kept the clean sheet in the last 8 games, and I think that was against Watford in their 0-0 draw at Old Trafford. I wouldn't go for Dallo, honestly. I would rather go for a Palace defender, Emerson Real. So no, not for me. I have Cancelo, Trent, Laporte, Cash. Who should I target to replace James? Can't afford Robbo. Maybe Matip. You know, if you can't afford Robertson, go for Matip. You know, he's going to start all the league games, it looks like, and he's keeping fit as things stand. So yeah, I'd go for Matip potentially. If not, Emerson Real. Yeah, I thought about Cash too, but Villa's double is tough. True, but if you're not free hitting in 37, a really good double in Game Week 37. Going for a Man United defender is just a no, given they considered at least 1 or 2 every game. I agree. Ronaldo's the only United player I'd consider right now. Bruno's the new Willock. Never forget about last year. Nah, but Bruno had a really, he had a great half of the season when he first joined, and then he had an amazing season last year. And he was very good for Sporting with constant goal contributions. He's even scoring for Portugal now. So I don't think he's suddenly finished or something. But he is another player, a bit like Mane, who's very lucky sometimes to stay on the pitch. James to Robert or Cash? Robertson will be my preference all day long. Who should I target to replace Antonio Rudiger? 5.5 million or less. Cash. I'd either go for Cash or who's the other defender I was talking about? I'm probably forgetting him. Well, Emerson Royal was the other one. Palace defender. Nah, maybe Ben White isn't bad, but Arsenal have been awful defensively. It has to be Cash, yeah. People go for Son or Bale last year, or Kane only. I went for Son and Kane. I went for that for a long period of the season, as well as Bruno and Salah when possible, basically. And Trent. So maybe one of those premiums I just discussed would kind of sacrifice for that. But yeah, I didn't really go for Bale last season. I got Sainz and Alonso in my team, which is both DNF. Wow, and Turbo Driver for Leclerc. That's really bad luck. And, Alonso is one of the unluckiest drivers in terms of decisions, and also he has to claim ownership of that. He's made some bad career choices, but he gets some really bad luck. And Sainz, this year has been unlucky. Last year was Leclerc being unlucky and Sainz being, less unlucky, let's say. So there you go. As for Leclerc, though, that was a mistake from him. Who has the best double game week in 36? Well, we can go through that now, actually. I'm pretty sure Chelsea have probably the best of the lot. So if we look at this, Chelsea have Wolves at home and Leeds away. Wolves are in awful form. As for Leeds, though, they're looking pretty decent, to be fair. Arsenal's double is okay, but I wouldn't say it's great. That derby against Spurs is going to be absolutely crazy. That is going to be probably full of fights, and that's going to be absolutely intense. So not Spurs for sure. They play Arsenal and Liverpool. Aston Villa play Liverpool, so no, not them. I'd probably say Chelsea. I'm going to look through the other names as well quickly. Leicester's double is the best. Yeah, Everton at home and Norwich. Yeah, Leicester have the best. Then it's Chelsea. So that's the answer to your question, mate. And also, if City get that double against Wolves, they would have an amazing double too. So basically, it will be City first if they get the double, Leicester second, and Chelsea third in terms of who have the best doubles. Hopefully that answers your question. Nketiah or Pukki? Still Pukki for me. Ben Davis a good op? Yeah, he's decent. I just prefer Emerson Royal a little bit more. I think he has more attacking potential and he can get bonus points a bit more. He's a bit more likely anyway for that. Yeah, I agree. The Flying Dutchman, yeah. How about free hit in 38 and target that Spurs versus Norwich game and triple up on Kane, Son, Kulusevski? Could be a goal fest. That's a good shout. And I actually mentioned free hitting in Gameweek 38 before. If you're not free hitting in 34, if you haven't done it already, if you don't do it in 35 or 36 or 7, well, obviously you've got no other game week left. But yeah, Gameweek 38 is actually not a bad time. And also, you would have maybe a good idea of who's going to be benched, which teams have something to play for. Spurs will probably, still have a chance of top 4 in that stage. So yes, I think that's a good shout. But I do like 37 free hit as well. But Chelsea is bound to rotate. That's a good point as well. That's a good point. But same with Leicester. So City is probably the best team to triple up on in 36. Yes, it is. Is James injured? He's got a knock to, I think it's hamstring. Some people said it's thigh or hamstring, whatever it may be. It was more of a precaution more than anything else, but it's very frustrating. Swapping for Alonso or Laporte, I'd actually rather go for Laporte, especially if you have no City coverage. Is it worth going Iheanacho out for Pukki, or should I pick someone with 7 million to spend? I'd go for Pukki. Who else would I consider? Maybe Watkins, especially if you have no free hit, to cover 36 and 37. Then you've got Dennis, potentially. Not many other strikers in Nketiah. The rest are pretty average. Verkos is showing a bit of decent form, but I still wouldn't buy him. Why free hit in 37? Well, I can show you my example. So if we go to FPL team, so Liverpool will play against Southampton in 37, so they're not going to blank. So I still have a decent team for that game week, but I could, I could get more Crystal Palace players, for example. I could get more double game because I can get those Aston Villa players like Cash, Coutinho and Watkins, who I don't necessarily want for my own team based on, I'm not wildcarding, for example, and I've got other plans myself. I could go about it a bit differently. It's a shame that City will probably not double in 37. Otherwise, definitely, this would be the best week to free hit in. Now, you could even free hit in 36 to get those City players. 38, as you said, or as someone said, for triple Spurs. But I think it's a good opportunity. There's going to be plenty of doubles for these teams like Leicester, Aston Villa, and also, who am I forgetting? Aston Villa, Leicester. Blimey. Blimey, who am I forgetting? Crystal Palace, there you go, Crystal Palace. So yeah, and I'm not sure if I'd want their players long term, personally. What would you update on the channel during the off-season? There will be occasional FPL videos, I think, but maybe there'll be gaming videos, something a bit different. Because obviously, what am I going to do? Recently we've been doing videos every single week. Well, not every week, every day, really. Same with streams. It's not going to happen during the summer break. But there could be some gaming videos, something different. And we can still talk about football, FPL, UCL Fantasy, whatever it may be. But of course, I'm not going to expect the engagement to be as high, at least for the the first few weeks at least. Once FPL gets released for the next season, that's when people start really buying back into it. But with no Euros now, like it was last season, yeah, there's going to be a bit of a break as well. Villa, Everton, Palace, Leicester, yeah, exactly. Everton was the one I forgot. Thank you very much, Golden Boys. I'm not a big fan of Everton anyway, but maybe Richarlison, for example, could come into my team. When is City doubling? Probably Gameweek 36. That's what Ben Krellin said. At least there's a 70% chance of a double there. Palace have 2 away games in 37. True, they have a bad record there. Yep, they have been horrendous in away games, and Villa isn't worth investing in. True, but that's why, I wouldn't want those players long term anyway, except for maybe a cash or something like that. But Zaha could still haul. Even if Palace lose both games, he could still get a haul there. If you're on free hit 37, will you target similar players for double Gameweek 36? To be honest, with 36 in mind, I'm only looking at City players like Cancelo or Laporte. I'm looking at the long term, really. So I'm actually quite happy with my team in 36. So as you can see here, even if you ignore Laporte or Cancelo, I already have a lot of double Gameweek players. By the way, I wouldn't do this. Why is Nketiah now starting over Pukki? But yeah, it'd be something like this, my team. And if you get Weghorst for Nketiah, that's not too bad anyway. And also for Laporte, it'd be Doherty. Yeah, so it's not the worst in the world, basically. So I don't need to make too many transfers to really focus specifically on Gameweek 36, but I would want City coverage. Thank you, Vino. Much appreciated. eFootball 22. No. Apparently that game is awful. Although FIFA is shambolic. I hate that game, honestly. I absolutely hate it. Is Broja worth selling for Mateta? No. I'm not sure because Mateta... let's wait and see what happens tomorrow, but I'm very concerned by the fact that he's been benched recently. Off-season you can do gaming, yeah, but there's a good opportunity to do F1 vids. Yeah, true, yeah, F1 fantasy video, that's a great shout. That's a good shout, Goldhead. Yeah, I would consider it. Yeah. Thank you, Vinny, once again. You can pounce on the blue ocean area that is F1 fantasy. Yeah, there's not really any content. Yeah, I'll spend a bit of time making the backgrounds, the graphics, the thumbnails, but that could definitely be a thing actually. And yeah, we could do a live stream or something. Maybe I watched a race and yeah, that'd be maybe. I'm not promising it, but that's something I'm going to consider. Thank you for that. Southampton will not blank in 37. Yeah, exactly. Their game against Liverpool would just be moved in midweek. Yep, exactly. Wait. Oh yeah, I didn't even address that part of the question. That's my fault. I was mainly focused on Mateta that I'm not sure about. No, yeah, like I said before, Liverpool versus Southampton will still be in Gameweek 37, so they're not going to blank. Best 2 goalkeepers for double Gameweek 36, Schmeichel and Foster. If you have enough money, maybe Schmeichel and Ramsdale, but I just don't like Arsenal defensively right now. But Schmeichel definitely at the top of the list. Maybe Edison, if you not too sure about City defenders or players in general because of rotation, go for Edison. What should I do with James Share Wood? If James is out for the second game against United, I would sell. As for Sharon Wood, especially in the case of Wood, he's a priority sell. Share, you can just bench, really. I have James Havertz and I'm worried for Gameweek 36. Is it an important week for my Mini League Cup? Well, James could be offloaded to a City defender, for example, mate. But yeah, that's kind of the way I'd see it. Havertz, I wouldn't be too worried about. He's still a good option. Do you think Jesus is a good buy? Well, if he could start every game, then yes, he could be decent, but he's not going to score 24 points every week, and obviously we all know that. And I don't expect him to start every week, so it's a bit of a really risky punt. And you can find better value from someone like Dennis, especially Pukki. I'd say Pukki, Tony Kane, Dennis, Richarlison, Watkins, and they might be better options long term. But obviously, if Jesus continues to start in the Prem, then definitely I'd recommend him. What defender will you go for under 4.5 million for bench boost in 36? Under 4.5 million, is this for the defenders? Honestly, under 4.5 million, we're kind of who we're going to look at. Maybe Tomiyasu? Let me double check this, by the way, for you. Yeah, he's 4.5 million, but you're saying under 4.5 million. I'm not sure. That's quite a difficult one. So I'll check now for you, but yeah, I'm assuming you're talking about defenders, because for midfielders, there's pretty much no one, and same with attackers. Yeah, defenders, I'm not too sure. I'll check now on the trusted FPL website. So defenders 4.4. Yeah, so I don't like these defenders, honestly. They just don't fill me with confidence. Maybe Davis. Yeah, it has to be Davis. He's probably up there. Yeah, Davis would be the one. Yeah, that's the answer then. Probably Ben Davis. But he's not really an exciting pick. F1 Fantasy videos would be good. Yeah, only one F1 Fantasy YouTuber that I watch. Oh yeah, I'm not even aware that there is one. Yeah, I'll probably do that. Yeah, I'll let you guys know. Jesus probably will play all the remaining league games, in my opinion. He's confirmed to be leaving in the summer, and Pep wants to send him off on a high. Yeah, but then he could still be used in the Champions League, though. You know, he caused Real Madrid a lot of problems a few years ago. Obviously, it's a long time ago, but still, you know, he could still play a really big part in that competition too. Do you think Jimmy Vardy could punish everyone? Not necessarily. He could be a great opportunity for people, but he's not really going to punish you with such low effective ownership. And also, he's been, you know, having injury problems all season, so I don't think so, personally. Who is the most nailed and most attacking of Diaz Laporte? Thanks, man. Most nailed, actually, you'd argue Laporte this season, but most attacking, I'd say Laporte as well, you know, just because of the aerial threat. Diaz isn't as good for that. He will still maybe score occasionally, but just not as often as Laporte. Normally, obviously, Diaz is the most nailed. You know, I'm not going to deny that. But this season, Laporte has actually pretty much started every single game. Alonso for James? Yes, but once again, wait for the second game against United before making such a decision. Yeah, I agree, Tech. I agree. Maddison a good option for 36? I'd say yes, but the problem, as you just mentioned there, is rotation, and that's why I'm not looking at him. Is Alvarez a good signing for City next season? Yes, I believe so. He actually, last year in 2021, he was top 3 for under 23 players, I believe it was, for most goals and assists for the calendar year. Now, yes, he was playing in the Argentinian league, which isn't as strong as other leagues, like the English league, for example, but yeah, still. Sorry, I was just hiding that comment. Thank you for that. Great spamming. But yeah, I think he will be a good signing. He's a long-term purchase. He's not the best goal scorer per se. Like, I've seen people compare him to Aguero, a bit of a similar play style, but I'm not sure he's going to be as good of a finisher or as prolific. But what he will do is offer City a bit of versatility. He can play across the front three, and he's going to give a lot of good years of service. Hopefully he can stay injury-free. And, you know, he scored in his first international start against Ecuador in Argentina's last game. So, you know, I have high hopes for him. Let's wait and see what he does. Okay, yeah, I'll check that out, Golden Boys. Thank you very much. Any news on Kilman? Some say he's out for the season, and some say he'll be back next week. Honestly, I don't know about Kilman. I just know that he was out for this week, and I mentioned that Bruno Lager was talking about in his press conference, and therefore those who had size, you could keep him for another week. But honestly, with Wolves, I'd just sell all their assets. If I could, I would do Sarr to Schmeichel myself. Yes, then I'm looking at Ben Davis. Thanks, mate. I mean, honestly, there's not much to choose from there. You know, I'd wish I could give you, you know, a better answer, but it's probably him. Thank you very much. Gabby Jesus and Sterling in that Madrid UCL game exposed Varane's weaknesses. Yeah, I agree. And, you know, Madrid aren't exactly the greatest defensively even now. Potential Gameweek 36 bench boost: Raya, Cancelo, James, Alonso, Robertson, Mount, Mahrez, Salah, Diaz, Kane. That's a great team. I'm just a bit concerned about Diaz. You know, obviously he can haul in one game anyway. I'm worried about his minutes, but Mahrez in particular, I don't know about him. The rest looks fantastic, though. I have no complaints there. I like Raya as well. I think he only has a single game week. I'm not sure what your second goalkeeper is. I'm guessing it's Foster, but great team overall. Sessegnon, not too sure about, but the rest looks fantastic. And you should get a lot of points there. Is Jesus worth it? If he starts the majority of games, then yes, I think so. But I just don't know if he will, basically. And, you know, from the remaining games, I think he'll start all but maybe 2 or 3, and maybe that's enough for you to go for him. He's worth a punt, yes. I mean, which strikers are actually offering good value right now? Not many, if any. So, yeah, I think he's worth it. It's just I'm very concerned about his minutes. Best captain for Gameweek 35, I think De Bruyne or Kane. De Bruyne, Kane, or... I'll put a top 5. So Kane, I don't want to kind of sit on the fence. I think maybe De Bruyne first. Second Kane, third Salah, fourth Son. I'm not sure about fifth, but something like that. Watkins is actually right up there for the predicted points because he's facing Norwich. Game Week 36, I'm bench boosting with 14 players on my team having a double. Yeah, that should be good. As long as the players are of good quality as well, you should be fine. Even someone like Gordon could do well for you, even if he's not the greatest, FPL option in the world. But yeah, 14 players, I wish I could do that. Thanks for the stream, Dylan. Looking forward to the next one. Thank you to Flying Dutchman. We are wrapping up very soon. We've been on for over 2 hours now. Dennis or Pookie for only 35 and 36. Still Pookie for me, but Dennis has been pretty decent recently, I will say. Is it worth bringing in Coutinho on for a -4, but take out Kane for Jesus? I wouldn't do that with Kane having a double in 36 and also facing Leicester, who is his favourite opponent. Now, then again, I said this heading into Game Week 33 and 34, and those that got rid of Kane for Ronaldo are obviously laughing. So, look, that's just my opinion on it. I still would, back my gut and keep Kane. But yeah, I think that's what I would do. Hello, I have Wildcard, Free Hit, Bench Boost, and Triple Captain. Wow, you've got all of them left still. I would Wildcard now in 35. I would Free Hit in 37, Bench Boost in 36, and probably Triple Captain in 38. That's pretty much the only option you have. You could maybe go about it a bit differently, but I think that's the best way to go about it. Thank you, Big A. You're extremely hardworking and knowledgeable. Thank you very much, Big A, for your kind comments. I don't necessarily agree, but thank you very much. And thank you to everyone who's been tuning in. It's been a blast. If you've got any questions that I haven't answered, then just let me know. And I'll try to answer them in the comments as well as Twitter, Instagram, and Discord. Be sure to join the Discord server. The link is in the description below. And if you haven't already, you know what to do. Smash the like button and subscribe for new. We're trying to get to 15,000 subscribers. But by the end of the season, I think the more realistic target is 11k subscribers. And if not, we can maybe do it during the off season. There could be F1 fantasy content there. I'll let you guys know. There's going to be a Tuesday deadline stream for UCL Fantasy, so stay tuned for that. And I'll look forward to seeing all of you there as well, talking about the Champions League. It's going to be very exciting times. The business end of the season as well should be fascinating stuff. And there could be gaming content as well. I'll probably put a poll out and see what kind of videos and streams you want to see during the off season. During that maybe 1 or 2 month break before the FPL game is released, and then we can really start making new content ahead of the new season. There'll probably be a season review as well, so there's plenty more content headed your way, so don't worry. But I appreciate everyone who's been tuning in. Do you think Saka will be fit? Yes, I believe so. If he does miss any game, yeah, it'll be 1 in Game Week 35, and then he'll be fine in 36. But honestly, I think he should be good. He had that problem after the Chelsea game as well, heading into the United fixture. This season, remember how people wildcard so early on Game Week 4 for Ronaldo? Oh yeah, that's true. Actually, I remember back then when Ronaldo first joined FPL. I think my most viewed video is Ronaldo being added to FPL. So thank you, Ronaldo. That was a poor C impression. I could do way better. But yeah, to be honest, even last season I wildcarded very early on as well. Sometimes we make these decisions and you're like, oh wow, I made a lot of bad mistakes, with my Game Week 1 squad, and then you just want to kind of rectify it as soon as possible. I think maybe saving your wildcard for later could be better, but we always kind of do this. Make a countdown for everyone to like. Make a countdown. Fair enough. I mean, let's see how many likes are we on? We're on 72. Let's get to 100 likes. And for those that are viewing the stream afterwards as well, I encourage you to like the video as well. Thank you very much, Frederick. 3, 2, 1. Like everyone. Let's see if it works. Yeah, I mean, that'll be great as well. It helps out the channel in the algorithm as well. Do you think Everton will be a potential game for mass rotation for Chelsea players? I think it could be an issue. I'm not sure if the likes of Mason Mount will necessarily not play a single minute, but of course, there is definitely the possibility of Mount not starting, definitely. And the same goes for all these Chelsea assets. I still would expect Chelsea to play the majority of their players because they need to build that consistency, that winning mentality, and also that rhythm heading into the FA Cup final, which I think is in Game Week 37 around that time. So they need to build that consistency and also confidence. So I personally think they will rotate maybe a little bit, but not that much as some people will think. Thank you, Panic Monster, for liking the video. Thank you, Frederick, for shouting that out. Much appreciated. Fixtures to target for Free Hit 35. Manchester City versus Leeds, definitely. Spurs versus Leicester, I would still target Harry Kane. You could maybe go for Ronaldo against Brentford. He's the only United player to consider. Liverpool against Newcastle, obviously the kind of same old story there. And also with City, I would go for Cancelo, De Bruyne, and probably Laporte. You could do something like that. So yes, target City, Liverpool, and also Spurs. And even Chelsea against Everton, but I wouldn't triple up on them in Game Week 35. Thank you very much, Panic Monster. Love the content. You're underrated. Thank you very much, mate. It's much appreciated. Thank you for the spam, and you're hidden again. Thank you very much. So it's been a pleasure talking to all of you. If you've got any comments that I haven't answered, then put them down in the comment section below. So take care, enjoy the football. Let's see what happens in the rest of Double Game Week 34, and I'll see you next time. Look forward to seeing you on Tuesday for the UCL Fantasy stream.